Hello, welcome to the Fanfic Majesty. 8 PIW. Chapter 211. Admiral's Shock. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Bakichong Guyu. I saw Kizaru's figure quickly photonized and jumped higher into the air, then golden light flickered, and countless golden light bullets came out. The number of these light bombs is very large, the range is also very large, and the speed is very fast. Whitebeard was motionless and did not use any defensive moves. Those dazzling light bombs continued to impact on Whitebeard's body, causing a rumble of bombardment. Father him. Marco was a little worried the moment he saw Whitebeard's move, but he didn't have time to take care of it at this time. Because the direction Kizaru sent out the 8-foot Chonguyu is exactly facing them. Those light bullets that did not hit Whitebeard hit their pirate group. As a result, Marco quickly turned into an undead bird to fly into the sky, and took the initiative to face the light bullets, using his body to block these attacks. Fortunately, these attacks did not cause any serious damage to Marco, but because the number was still too much, he could not stop them all alone. Damn it, it's still too much. Marco felt a little anxious. At this time, Beasta also acted, and saw him wielding double knives, slashing and hitting the light bullets, which also resolved a lot. But facing Admiral's attack, it is not so easy. Every time Beasta used a knife to counteract the light bullet, the palm of his hand would receive a shock. His palms were a little numb from the shock, and at the same time, Jay Arrow immediately rushed to the front. His Fengfang fruit is also able to produce a wide range of moves. I saw that Brother Arrow summoned a large-scale whirlwind in the air, like a barrier. But this kind of whirlwind obviously can't completely block the light bomb. You must know that this kind of move is known as the speed of light. Advertisement. But when the light bomb passed through the whirlwind, its power was also weakened, and then the other captains defended it. Even if it hits the hull, its power is limited. In this way, with the cooperation of everyone, Kizaru's attacks were also resisted. But this also just made some captains understand that their strength is still too bad. Kizaru's move is mainly to deal with Whitebeard. Even so, it took a lot of people's cooperation to deal with Admiral's attack to avoid major damage. And Whitebeard knew this for a long time, so he deliberately did it, and didn't try to block all the light bullets. Just to be able to temper those captains, the opportunity to fight Admiral is not always available. Right now Whitebeard can use Kizaru to train his captains. This is definitely a good opportunity, and with Whitebeard in, it won't let those captains and Kizaru face each other. Of course, in addition to the light bombs, what Marco and others also need to defend against are those shells. All the captains are doing their best to protect the pirate regiment and at the same time start to organize a counterattack. Marco was going to send 2 ships to fight the 3 warships that were behind him, but he soon discovered that the red-haired pirate regiment had begun to pass. Therefore, Marco only sent 1 ship to support the redhead, but the current situation is a bit unfavorable for the Whitebeard pirates. Because the Whitebeard pirates had to face the frontal attack of 5 warships at this time, and they now only have 3. At the same time, because the red hair was pinned down by the warship behind it, the Marines also vacated Garp and Momoshiki. At the same time, there are 2 Vice Admiral headquarters, and the other 3 are on the 3 warships around the back. Advertisement. The red hair is going to deal with the warship that is circling behind. Let's attack now. 1. Momoshiki said as soon as he noticed that red hair pirates had changed direction. Well, now is the opportunity to attack with all your strength. Garp also nodded. As a result, Marine's firepower was fully fired and continued to launch attacks, while Garp attacked Whitebeard more and more into the air. Whitebeard hit Whitebeard with a heavy punch, but it didn't cause much harm. At this time Dao Mian also jumped up and slashed at Whitebeard with his sword. With the sound of the stirrup, Momoshiki's sword broke in half, but Whitebeard did not leave a trace. What a horrible body, it's too amazing. Momoshiki was shocked by the strength of Whitebeard's body. Because Whitebeard has not used armament hockey at this time, it is just the most primitive strength. It resisted Garp in her attack, the intensity is really amazing. Their attack couldn't even break the defense, although Garp told Momoshiki some psychological preparations beforehand. But when I really saw Whitebeard's strength, Momoshiki was still shocked. This kind of strength may not add up to them. It seems that they can only follow Garp's original plan. Just keep Whitebeard in check, don't think about creating an effective attack or defeating Whitebeard. So, Momoshiki immediately changed her strategy, because Garp and Kizaru dealt with Whitebeard, so she took the initiative to deal with the captains of Whitebeard. Momoshiki immediately changed a long sword, and then ordered the warship to come closer and move while firing the cannon. Soon, after reaching a sufficient distance, Momoshiki jumped directly, and the marine soldiers rushed up. The number of people on Whitebeard's side is actually not much different from that of Marine. The main difference is in firepower. Advertisement. Marine ships are equipped with powerful artillery, and Marine soldiers also have muskets. Therefore, The most basic battle competition pirates is not the opponent of the regular marine, only rely on the captains. Facing Momosegi's impact, Marco took the lead to block her and fight her. Marco, the fruit of you demons, let me see and see. Yelled Momosegi. HMPH, as you wish. I saw that Marco's figure suddenly turned into a cyan flame, and at the same time he launched an attack on Momosegi. Marine also has two headquarters, Vice Admiral, one against Beasta and the other against Arog. The other captains on Whitebeard's side, Nord Zhao, are helping ordinary pirates against those marine soldiers. And red hair pirates also gradually approached the three warships that circled behind. Hurry up, stop, I don't want to cause unnecessary casualties. I saw the red hair standing majestic in the bow of the ship and said to those marine Vice Admiral. Shanks, do you want someone to give you a face again? One of the Vice Admirals suddenly mocked. Because of the previous war on the top, the originally chaotic battlefield was forced to end because of the arrival of Shanks. One of Shanks's words is to give me face. Marine naturally refused to listen to Shanks' words at this time, so he used these words to tease the redhead. If this is the case, let's go to war. The red hair said lightly. The entire red hair pirates began to fight back, and red hair himself did not easily shoot Guy. At this time, the sea was suddenly chaotic, and there were turbulent waves everywhere. Chapter 212. Admiral's Terrifying Power. Arrow_back_ios_new previous chapter next chapter arrow_forward_ios. Advertisement. Especially the battlefield between Whitebeard and Marine, although it is in the sky, their power is often poured onto the sea, causing waves to roll. Garp, you're here too, is there no one to deal with Shanks? Whitebeard asked. Haha, of course you are the most important thing, just as you accompany you to do warm-up exercises, I hope you don't get too angry. Garp laughed. How come? I also hope that you will help my crew train. Whitebeard also laughed. Don't think I don't exist. At this time Kizaru suddenly shot a strong light bullet, and Whitebeard waved hard. He smashed it into pieces with a big knife, and said annoyed. Monkey, don't be so impatient. Yeah, didn't the battle have already started? I'm impatient to say it. Kizaru questioned. Yes, it's already started. I saw Garp leapt into the sky and fired an iron fist at Whitebeard again. A fist hit Whitebeard's chest abruptly, and its immense power did not shake Whitebeard at all, but it shocked the surrounding space. It was as if Whitebeard had activated Shock Fruit's ability 917, but this was actually caused by Garp's tremendous power. It can be said that with this terrifying force, the space was distorted. Whitebeard smiled slightly, and then began to fight back. I saw Whitebeard flying quickly in the sky, making Garp unable to lock it, and at the same time shook Kizaru. Advertisement. While flying, Whitebeard hammered with his fist out of thin air, and the space where the fist struck was like glass with broken marks. At the same time, a huge shock came from the broken trace, directly slamming Kizaru's shining body with a heavy shock. Wow, this hurts so much. Kizaru cried out with some pain. His photon body was directly shocked out of a wound, and he did not recover immediately even in the fruit state. And this shock to Shanghai contains Haki, otherwise he would not feel the pain. It seems that it won't work without all the effort. Garp sighed, covered armament Haki on his fist, and then rose into the sky again. At this time Kizaru also endured the pain and launched an attack, only to see his body turned into a flash of light, flashing constantly in the sky. It is refracted like light rays ABFA. The speed is so fast that even Whitebeard's gaze can't catch it. In the end, Kizaru flashed in front of Whitebeard, and then gathered strong fruit power on his right leg and covered armament Haki. The next moment, Kizaru used a flashing leg at Whitebeard, as if sweeping across 1,000 troops. At the same time, Garp's powerful iron fist also hit Whitebeard's back. Whitebeard's shocking force is fully used, constantly offsetting the strength of the two of them. He has such a fine control over the fruit ability. Garp couldn't help feeling a little surprised, because he felt a lot of small shocks on the contact surface between his fist and Whitebeard's back. These shocks are as small as acupuncture, but they are numerous, and they gather to collide with Garp's power. The same is true for Whitebeard's attacks against Kizaru. Under these shocks, their attacking power is constantly being offset. In the end, all their moves were resolved, but Kizaru and Garp also retreated as soon as they saw the bad situation. Advertisement. Both of them were very cautious and did not give Whitebeard a chance to fight back. At this time, Whitebeard took the time to take a look at his crew and found that the situation at this time was a bit bad. Whitebeard originally thought that Marco could be able to deal with Marine, after all, he restrained Garp and Kizaru. The others are some miscellaneous soldiers and a few vice admiral, but Whitebeard still did not expect that his pirate regiment would be disadvantaged. Marine's weapons are very sophisticated, and they obviously came prepared, and even prepared a sea stone. Therefore, some fruit-powered people on Whitebeard's side are somewhat restrained. In addition, Many crew members have a Whitebeard mentality, and they don't have a very fighting spirit against Marine. Therefore, the Whitebeard pirate group can be said to have retreated steadily and caused some casualties. Therefore, Whitebeard is also a little angry. Of course, the reasons for being angry are complicated. Garp, are you here to stop me from meeting with the red hair? I think this will stop there. Whitebeard's face suddenly became serious, as if he was about to end the battle. Whitebeard, are you serious? Garp asked cautiously. Whitebeard didn't speak either, but flew towards Garp suddenly. First, with a big sword swung, a 10-strength sword aura suddenly swept out. Garp has always been a violent temper, and he didn't dodge, but confronted him directly. I saw Garp directly hit the oncoming sword energy with a punch, and immediately dissipated the sword energy. However, Garp felt a sting in his fist, and then Whitebeard continued to rush. He concentrated the power of the shock on his fist, and then punched Garp firmly. Advertisement. This punch immediately produced a great shock, and the waves continued to beat the hull. And taking advantage of this opportunity, Kizaru attacked Whitebeard again, and his flashing legs swept out again. A shock barrier suddenly appeared behind Whitebeard, blocking Kizaru's sneak attack. But Kizaru's leg also instantly smashed Whitebeard's barrier, showing its strength. It's amazing. Whitebeard was also quite amazed. Kizaru's shining fruit is indeed blessed, its speed is comparable to the speed of light, and with the addition of speed, the power is also doubled. However, Whitebeard's shock fruit is not a vegetarian, and I saw his conqueror's haki unfold in an instant. A strong wind pressure suddenly swept out of Whitebeard, and this wind pressure suddenly formed a huge storm on the sea. The storm on the sea spread rapidly in all directions, relying on the pressure of conquerors. Whitebeard suppressed Kizaru for a moment. Then, Whitebeard immediately used the shocking force to seal the surrounding space, trapping him and Kizaru in a closed space. Beat you first, Whitebeard said lightly to Kizaru. Whitebeard is not in the mood to continue fighting with them, but facing the combination of two strong men at the same time, even Whitebeard will feel tricky. Therefore, Whitebeard used the shock force to disperse them so that the battle can be resolved as quickly as possible. Well, the space is much smaller. Kizaru still had that kind of lazy look on his face, but his tone was already a little disturbed. The fruit of Kizaru is very unsuitable for fighting in a small space, not only because it can only move in a straight line. At the same time, there is no distance acceleration, so the exertion of strength is also limited, and no greater bonus can be obtained. Chapter 213. Whitebeard's Fury. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Whitebeard and Kizaru fought in the earthquake space, while Garp was blocked outside. This enclosed space is a cube, the volume is not very small, but it is very narrow to accommodate two powerful masters. Boom. Garp jumped up and hit the outer wall of the shock space with a punch, but it could only cause a ripple in the space, but couldn't break it. Kizaru was beaten by Whitebeard one after another inside, but couldn't bear it, and began to want to break through the space and escape. Kizaru suddenly emitted countless light bullets, but when these light bullets touched the shaking space, their power was instantly cancelled out. It's useless, it's formed by compressing it with the force of a shock. It's not so easy to break. Whitebeard said lightly. After the density of the shock force is compressed, it will become extremely strong. Damn it, it's really bad. Kizaru couldn't help cursing inwardly. Father, Daddy. Whitebeard was about to defeat Kizaru in one fell swoop, but he heard Marco's cry from below. It turned out that Garp saw that he could not break the shock space of Whitebeard, so he turned to another battlefield. After Garp joined, Marco and other captains quickly rumbled, and his pirate group seemed to be in desperate situation. Damn it. Whitebeard was also completely angry at this time. Garp, how can you intervene in the battle of the juniors? Whitebeard lifted the shock space, flew back quickly, and questioned Garp. Garp also said helplessly, I don't want to do this either, but you don't want me to join your battlefield, then I can only help you train your crew. Although Whitebeard also hoped that Marine would temper his pirate group at first, of course he would be angry when he saw his pirate group was completely defeated. Good. Whitebeard gritted his teeth, and the tremor quickly surged. Advertisement. Raising his right hand to face the sea, a powerful force burst out. The big sea was immediately dragged out by Whitebeard and a huge wave was gradually superimposed by Whitebeard. 1 meter, 2 meters, 3 meters, and 4 meters finally reached a height of 10 meters. The 10-meter high huge waves were surging, and even Garp was stunned by the battle. Whitebeard, you are crazy, do you want to die together? Garp shouted. Such a high wave is enough to submerge all the boats present. Their marine warships and pirates are all together, and if they are to be submerged, they will all be submerged. Garp didn't expect Whitebeard to lose control so much, he immediately called Kizaru. Kizaru, stop with me. Coming. Kizaru quickly came to Garp's side, and the two rushed to stop the huge wave. Father, this. Whitebeard too, who had been sleeping in the cabin, woke up after constant ups and downs, was stunned by the sight when he came out. The 10-meter-high huge wave was right in front of my own eyes, and soon the drunkard rolled over and swallowed everyone inside. This is the sea, and it will be a disaster for all those with fruit abilities present. If it is really submerged, once no one comes to rescue, I am afraid it will really be buried in the sea. Even those who are not capable of fruit, being impacted by this kind of giant waves are more than good. Therefore, in this case, everyone in the Whitebeard pirate group was also panicked. They hid behind Whitebeard one after another, and Whitebeard was still angry at this time. Advertisement. Wable. Whitebeard yelled. Yes. Whitebeard too came over immediately. These Marine Vice Admiral on the ship will be handed over to you. Whitebeard said coldly. Good. Whitebeard too immediately became happy when he heard of a fight. Soon, Whitebeard too raised his sword and rushed to the Marines, and the battle between Marine and the pirates had already stopped. After all, who is still in the mood to fight before the huge wave is about to hit, therefore, facing the attack of Whitebeard too? The Marines were unable to cope for a while, and these Marine Vice Admiral had no intention of fighting, so they had to order a retreat. Under Whitebeard's instruction, the Marines were all driven back to their warships by Whitebeard too. Whitebeard nodded in satisfaction, and then ordered the helmsman to turn around and stay away from the warships. At this time, the huge waves were getting closer and closer. Although Garp and Kizaru's combined attack reduced the impact of some huge waves, they could not stop the engulfing in the slightest. Father. Marco was also frightened, but he believed Whitebeard and hadn't acted. Zero seeking flowers. Zero. Let them all hide in the cabin. Whitebeard ordered. Yes. All hide in the cabin. Don't come out. Hurry up. Marco immediately evacuated all the people on the deck into the cabin, and then stood beside Whitebeard. Father, you are also a fruitful person, will you be in danger? Although he knows that Dad is strong, but in the face of such huge waves, one will lose the ability to fruit if he is not careful. So Marco is also a little worried, and he can fly into the air by himself. Advertisement. I don't underestimate the old man, this time you need to reflect on yourself. The old man said in a deep voice. Hearing that, Marco also felt a little ashamed, and lowered his head. Quick, go back quickly. Marine is still trying to save this result, but how can the speed of the warship be faster than the waves? However, Kizaru and Garp worked hard to reduce the height of the huge wave to a height of 6 meters. But even this is still very high, and all the warships were easily annihilated. Kizaru, can you push the warship faster? Garp asked suddenly. With Kizaru's fruitful ability, it is possible to do this kind of thing. But at this time, Kizaru was injured when he fought Whitebeard before, and was a bit exhausted from just now. I will try, Kizaru said uncertainly. Then Kizaru came to the stern of a main ship and pushed hard. Through the power of fruit, Kizaru's body shape is constantly moving like a photon, providing Kizaru with impact kinetic energy, which is then transmitted to the warship. The speed of the warship has indeed increased a bit, but it also consumes a lot of Kizaru's power. After that, Garp himself promoted some warships, and reluctantly bought time with the giant waves. At this time, Red Hair Pirates is also about to face this huge wave, because the scope is too big. And speaking from the distance, Red Hair Pirates even faced the impact of huge waves before Garp. The Red Hair side has subdued 3 Marine warships, which were originally side by side. But after discovering the huge wave, Shanks immediately asked Marine to adjust the position, forming a vertical row one by one, so that their contact area with the huge wave would be smaller. And Chapter 214. Whitebeard Pirates Victory. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. What the hell, Whitebeard must have caused this scene. The Red Hair was also a little helpless. Although he didn't see who caused the huge waves, it must have been Whitebeard who had this terrifying ability to pick wild vegetables in his heart. It's not that others can't do it, but Whitebeard owns shock fruit. It is very convenient to form such a huge wave. Captain, it's coming. Ben Beckman beside Shanks suddenly reminded. Shanks stood at the forefront, in the shape of a Tarzan. His eyes narrowed slightly, holding the sword in his right hand, a powerful haki pouring out of his body, fusing with his long sword. The Red Hair raised his head to face the huge wave that was already less than 3 meters away from him. He suddenly cut a sharp sword energy from midair to the ground, and the majestic power formed a sword air slashing energy. This sword, September 17, burst out in a vertical and horizontal direction, cutting the huge wave in front of him with an incision measuring several feet long. The ship of Shanks and others just passed through this cut and was not impacted by the huge waves. It wasn't until the huge waves rolled for a certain distance that they gradually recovered, but at this time the crisis between Shanks and Marine also passed. The 3 Marine Vice Admiral all breathed a sigh of relief and expressed their gratitude to Shanks. If it weren't for Shanks, I'm afraid they would have suffered a lot from the impact of this huge wave. Advertisement. Look how they are. After the crisis, Shanks turned his attention to Whitebeard and Garp. I saw that Whitebeard's pirate group was also gradually being impacted by huge waves, but they couldn't have time to make all the ships form a solid row. Whitebeard's 4 boats are arranged in a mess, but Whitebeard still took out a big knife, just like Shanks did. First swing a huge sword energy to cut through the giant waves, and then use the shocking force to block the part of the giant waves that are about to hit oneself. Whitebeard shook hard and pushed back the part of the huge wave. As for the waves that Garp is facing, it's just that because of the advancement of Kizaru and Garp, they are far away from the waves. It's just that they didn't last long, and their speed slowed down again. After all, no matter how strong they are, their physical strength is limited. Garp, I'm running out of strength. Now the waves are much smaller. I think we should face it head on. The two of us resisted. Kizaru told Garp that he felt that it was less effort to resist the huge waves than to continue to advance these warships. Garp also looked at the huge waves and found that the impact and speed had indeed weakened, so he agreed. Okay, let all the warships move forward at full speed. We stay on the last warship to resist the huge waves. Garp said. Whitebeard quickly noticed the movements of these people. Of course, he wouldn't let these Marines escape so easily. HMPH, it hurts my pirate group, how can it be so easy to leave? I saw Whitebeard snorted coldly, and once again used the shocking force to resist the huge wave first. Then began to stack continuously, restacking the huge waves to a distance of 10 meters, and used the force of the earthquake to push it. The speed of the huge wave was much faster now, and soon it was about to catch up with the Marine warship. Advertisement. No, Whitebeard. Garp was startled, feeling that he could not stop the disaster. To be precise, it was only for the Marine disaster. At this moment, everyone on the Marine warship hid in the cabin. They tried to reduce some damage in this way, but it also made everyone understand Whitebeard's anger. When the huge wave comes, Kizaru can only protect himself, because he is a fruitful person, he has no way to save others. Soon, the 5 warships were completely submerged by the giant waves, and Kizaru stopped in the air, and he had no place to stay. Those warships continued to roll after being swept in by the huge waves, and the soldiers inside were killed and wounded countless at a time. Hurry up and rescue them, otherwise they will be in danger. Red Hair immediately said to Vice Admiral of the 3 warships. And they started to act when the Red Hair said, there are 3 Marine seniors on it. If something happens, then the Marine government will not only be weakened, I am afraid this incident will also become the laughing stock of New World. Quicker, Vice Admiral urged. As for Whitebeard, he has been watching this good show, but after overturning the 5 warships. Whitebeard immediately used the power of the shock to stop the huge waves, and the sea gradually returned to calm. However, those warships were completely plunged into the sea. Fortunately, the other 3 were salvaged in time, saving many people. Garp, Momosuke and other Vice Admiral boarded the boat one after another, and their whole bodies were wet. Damn it, this damn Whitebeard, I didn't expect him to play it really. After Garp got on the boat, he hammered the ground hard. Master Garp, it's not the time to talk about this now, so hurry up and save someone. Momosuke gave him a win. Advertisement. Now that Whitebeard is totally meaningless, not to mention that they are here to attack Whitebeard. Isn't it normal for Whitebeard to counterattack? And if Whitebeard is really hot, I am afraid that everyone present will not be able to leave. Of course Garp also understands this, but he is still a little angry with Whitebeard in his heart. He didn't expect him to be so extreme. Father, what should I do now? Marco asked Whitebeard with his head tilted, looking at the Marines who were busy rescuing their underwater companions. Let's go, continue our voyage, Whitebeard said lightly. As a result, the Whitebeard pirates set off immediately, and they separated after bidding farewell to Red Hair pirates. When leaving again, Whitebeard was in a bad mood, and Marco noticed this. Father, what's the matter, why are you not so happy? Marco asked concerned. Also about 5.0, I was so disappointed with you today. Whitebeard sighed. At this time, the other crew members also surrounded Whitebeard, and they all bowed their heads in shame. Daddy, they have too many people. Brother Arrow seemed to explain, but Whitebeard glared at him immediately. Come less. They don't have many people at all. We have so many captains, and they only have a few Vice Admiral, and the Red Hair also helps you share part of Marine. But you were still defeated. If it weren't for us, I wouldn't need to attack Marine at all. Whitebeard showed strong anger, and all the crew present did not dare to speak out. Father, if it weren't for Garp's sudden intrusion, we wouldn't have been defeated. Marco continued to explain, now only he dared to speak to Whitebeard. Chapter 215. Whitebeard's personal guidance. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Marco still wanted to justify his disadvantage, but Whitebeard showed no mercy to them. Marco, don't talk too much, I can see it clearly, even when Garp is not exhibiting, you are still at a disadvantage. While talking, Whitebeard's expression also showed majesty, and even Marco did not speak any more at this time. In fact, although Whitebeard was angry, he didn't reach this point. He just wanted to use this method to deter everyone. Because Whitebeard knows that as the situation develops, there will be more and more wars. In particular, Whitebeard recently wanted to dispose of Blackbeard, and Whitebeard hates the ambitious mouse like Blackbeard. But now Blackbeard is also one of the 4 emperors, and there are many underlings. If you really want to develop, then Whitebeard can't protect every one of his men. However, if they are not strong enough, then the loss will be more serious. If each of his sons is strong by 1 point, then some losses can be avoided. Therefore, O1 Whitebeard hopes that they can all become stronger, and if you want to become stronger, you must first have the idea of becoming stronger. Although this idea Whitebeard has been instilling in them, trying to make them have a strong desire to become stronger. But he found that just this is not enough, this method cannot make them generate strong motivation at all. Therefore, Whitebeard feels that the best way is to make them feel frustrated. Only by letting them experience setbacks can they be motivated. This is why Whitebeard didn't use to block all Kizaru's attacks, nor did he fully protect his crew. Advertisement. I just want them to experience and fight on their own, instead of thinking that they will be invincible with Whitebeard in their hearts. Although this is indeed true in a sense, if they hold this mentality, it will seriously suppress their strength. In this way, how can you do Whitebeard's unique and effective admiral? Finally seizing this opportunity, Marine dispatched such a large force to attack them. Whitebeard naturally wanted to seize this opportunity to criticize and educate them. Starting from today, I hope you can practice diligently. I might as well tell you that I will launch a big action recently. This operation is critical to us. I hope you will all lose the chain and not cause serious casualties. I have so many captains, but few can make a real difference. Should you think about it? Okay. You disband, Marco, Bista, Brother Arrow, you guys stay. Whitebeard called the 3 to stay, and the others disbanded and left. Marco, Bista, and Aroko stood there, and they didn't know what Dad was going to say to them. After standing for a long time, Whitebeard didn't speak. The 3 of them looked at each other. Marco couldn't help but asked, Father, what's the matter with you? Do you have any thoughts about this battle with Marine, say one by one? Whitebeard glanced across the faces of the 3 of them, and then asked. Marco first said. This time Marine is here prepared, although the number of Marine soldiers is indeed not large, and the number of Vice Admiral is far less than our captain. However, Marine Sheng has strong firepower. They came this time to interfere with our 2 pirate regiments, so they prepared a lot of powerful weapons. Advertisement. The captains of our team were busy resisting these artillery pieces, and later on, I was restrained by the powerful fighters of the other side and was unable to support others. After Marco finished speaking, he looked at Whitebeard cautiously. Whitebeard showed neither anger nor comfort. These are all excuses. Regardless of whether the other party is strong or not, we have to find reasons in ourselves. Why are we not strong enough? Whitebeard's faint voice was like thunder when it reached their ears, making them deafened. What the old man said is, I understand. Marco suddenly realized. So what about you? Whitebeard looked at Bista again. As a good swordsman, Bista chopped a lot of artillery in the previous battle, and was also restrained by a vice admiral from Marine. The strength of Marine Vice Admiral varies greatly, but Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral is generally stronger. Therefore, Bista felt that he had done his best. Father, I will definitely be stronger next time. Knowing what the old man meant, Bista didn't answer his thoughts about the previous battle. He immediately promised that he would work harder to cultivate. At this time, Brother Yaluo didn't wait for Whitebeard's inquiry, and took the initiative to say, Father, I will work hard, but I hope you can teach us personally so that we can avoid detours. Hearing Brother Arrow's words, Whitebeard couldn't help but laugh in his heart. He could understand his murmur just by looking at the small expression on Brother Arrow's face. Because Whitebeard personally taught Marco, and asked the red hair to guide Bista. As for Joe's, although there is no guidance, he was assigned to complete a major task. Only Alorge, although on the surface listed by Whitebeard as the 4 powerful fighters, he felt a little unbalanced in his heart. Advertisement. Only him, there seems to be nothing. Gum ha ha ha. Can I personally guide you in your cultivation? Okay, but you have to work 10 times more than usual, are you willing? Whitebeard also agreed. He had planned to do so, and now that they proposed it, Whitebeard would naturally increase the difficulty. Hearing the word 10 times, JG Waiting suddenly changed his face and began to hesitate. But after hesitating for a while, several people looked at each other, as if they were sure with their eyes. The 3 spoke at the same time. Father, we are willing to work 10 times harder. Good. Good. Whitebeard felt very relieved immediately. Cultivating things like this, just being forced by outsiders is useless, and the effect can't show up at all. Only if you make a decision yourself can you get twice the result with half the effort. So, Whitebeard began to prepare for the training of several of them. Of course, during this period, Whitebeard will also supervise the training of other captains. But for the three of Marco and others, Whitebeard personally guided, not Whitebeard eccentric. But because the other captains have not reached their limit, their strength can be improved through their own training. But looking at Marco and the other three, their strengths have all reached a bottleneck. At this time, if outsiders guide, then the efficiency of cultivation will be extremely, they need someone to civilize. Chapter 216. Joe's returns to the team. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. However, in the first few days, Whitebeard did not give them special instructions. But let them do some very basic training. Of course, most of them are some physical training. In Whitebeard's view, physical training is very important, which determines to a certain extent whether you can carry out a protracted battle. Sometimes the battle will last for a long time. If you can't adapt to this fighting intensity, then you will lose a lot of money. Of course, there is another reason, that is, Whitebeard exercises their physical strength first, so as to carry out more severe training after him. By the way, waiting for Jaws's return during this time, after Jaws's return, Whitebeard intends to guide the four of them at the same time. Speaking of, Jaws has been away from Whitebeard for a while. Whitebeard guessed that he should be back soon. And Jaws is the same as Whitebeard guessed. After he arrived at Sky Island, although he encountered a lot of difficulties, but finally came to the kingdom of God on Sky Island, where it is rumored that the former ruler was Enel. But Enel left here after being defeated by Luffy. On Sky Island, Jaws encountered many attacks, but fortunately, his diamond fruit ability allowed him to be safe and sound. Afterwards, Jaws placed the token on the golden eye of the temple in accordance with Whitebeard's order. According to Whitebeard, this thing can contact Enel, who has gone to the Infinite Land. After all this, Jaws hurried back, but he didn't know Whitebeard's purpose. After this trip, he has learned more about this magical place. Advertisement. He had only heard that Sky Island was a rumor, a place that didn't exist, but it actually existed. It is only at a height of 10,000 meters, and it is really difficult for outsiders to enter. Finally completed the task. I have to go back quickly. I don't know if anything happened to Dad. On the way back, Jaws faced the sea and couldn't wait. At this time, someone reminded him, "Captain, you have forgotten one thing. There was an agreement with Kid and others." "Oh, yes, there is this thing, I almost forgot." Jaws immediately remembered. "Having experienced so much in Sky Island, it is inevitable that I can't remember what happened before. Go to the place before and see if Kid is still there." Jaws ordered immediately. So when they returned, they sailed according to the original route. But sailing to the original position, they found that Kid and others were not here. "Captain, I didn't see them, what should I do now?" Although not here is not surprising. After all, you may encounter enemies in the sea at any time, or encounter marine patrols. However, it was impossible for Jaws to wait for them all the time, so Jaws did not continue to stay, he could only go back all the time. With Jaws's rush forward, he soon returned to the Whitebeard pirates, and the crew members all picked him up. "Jaws, long time no see, how is the mission accomplished?" "Hey, there was a big battle in your absence." "Yes, if you are there, our odds of winning will be much greater, and we won't be scolded by the old man." Advertisement. Some crew members even mentioned the previous battle with Marine. They thought that with more combat power like Jaws, they would definitely be able to gain an advantage. Jaws also didn't understand what happened, but he immediately came to Whitebeard to report the task to him. "Father, the task is complete," Jaws said simply. "Well, very good. I plan to improve your strength these days. You can train with Marco and the others." Whitebeard nodded. Training. Jaws couldn't help but cast a questioning look, but Whitebeard didn't answer. Jaws had to find Marco and others. At this time the three of them were undergoing weight training. "Marco, Dad asked me to train with you, what is going on?" When Jaws arrived at this time, Marco and the three of them were doing physical training wearing weights. Marco stopped immediately, and then took a set of 30 kilograms of materials to Jaws. "Come on, put this on, and come with us," Marco said to Jaws. "Are these the training content?" Jaws was slightly surprised. He thought it was the kind of combat training, but he didn't expect it was just physical training. And even if Jaws did not fruit, this burden is still not worth mentioning for him. "These are the most basic. The old man said that we must start with the basics first, hurry up," Marco said. After Jaws was dressed, he did not appear to be carrying a weight, because this amount of weight is really nothing to him. Therefore, Beasta couldn't help but said, "Marco, is this weight too light for him? Or add some to him." Advertisement. Marco took a look at Jaws and found that it was true that he was still very relaxed with weight training. After all, it has the characteristics of diamond fruit. When no one uses the ability, Jaws's ability to bear it is obviously the strongest. So, Under Marco's operation, they quickly added Joe's to a weight of 20 kilograms, and Joe's was carrying a total of 50 kilograms. In this way, the four people have been training, from training during the day to night, without a moment of rest. Of course, Whitebeard has also customized training plans for the other captains and their crews. Of course, they are much easier than Marco. But now all crew members must be trained, and Whitebeard handed over the task of supervision to Whitebeard 2. Wable, if anyone is lazy without serious training, then I approve you to teach him a lesson. Whitebeard said to him. When Whitebeard 2 heard Whitebeard say this, he was a little happy, because he could take this opportunity to enjoy himself, Nu Zhao. If anyone is lazy, then Whitebeard 2 will have a fight with him, which is really happy for Whitebeard 2. Therefore, Whitebeard 2 supervised everyone very carefully, and he wanted to find a lazy person right away. But unfortunately, Whitebeard deliberately arranged this way, facing such a cruel Whitebeard 2 to supervise. All crew members are afraid to be lazy, after all, they would rather work harder and train well. And the training is not very difficult, compared with Marco and the others, it is just average. Everyone is training seriously, so that Whitebeard 2 can't catch any chance. At night, the surrounding sky was already dark, and Whitebeard's boat was illuminated with lights everywhere, and it looked very bright guy. And on the sea, these lights also formed a secluded landscape, which seemed very atmospheric. 45%. Chapter 217. Limit. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. The crew finished a day of training, and then began to devour dinner. Damn it, no one is lazy, it's unscientific. Whitebeard 2 kept muttering while eating. Because he couldn't catch a lazy person all day, he really felt a bit wronged in his heart. Whitebeard has a large appetite, and one person can eat about 10 servings of ordinary people. But Whitebeard ate quickly, almost constantly in his mouth, and ate it quickly. After eating, Whitebeard came to the place where Marco and the others were training. At this time, the four of them were still training. Father, when will it be over? Marco asked immediately when he saw Whitebeard coming. And Chaozi and others also mentioned God. After a day of training, Chaozi fully understood the terrible, September 17th. Even though these are the most basic physical training, even these weights are nothing to him at the beginning. But one day, without stopping for a moment, Joe's was really tired. Joe's was so exhausted, not to mention the others, they were all sweating. All the clothes on their bodies were soaked, and not only that, but the reason why they were able to hold on was entirely because the muscles had formed a kind of memory. After a day of repetitive movements, their muscles have completely formed a pattern. As if they don't control themselves very much, the body can complete these actions automatically. But they also know that if they deliberately control it or stop this action actively, then they may not be able to support it in an instant and fall. Advertisement. Whitebeard glanced over each of them, and shook his head blankly. It's not possible now, you must continue to persist. This sentence is like a bolt from the blue sky, making everyone feel that their hearts are covered by a haze. They all saw Whitebeard coming, thinking that he was here to announce the end of training. But they didn't expect Whitebeard to let them continue, and they have now reached their tipping point. Although their respective degrees are different, they are not much different. It was as if they had seen an oasis in the desert, and after finally reaching it, they were told that it was a mirage. Next, Whitebeard stood by them and watched them train in person. Because Whitebeard was standing here, an invisible pressure was hidden in everyone's hearts. Although he has reached his limit, in order not to fall down in front of Whitebeard. In order not to be the first to fall, everyone was suffocated, and they all kept pressing themselves to persevere. In this way, after another half an hour or so, Beasta's body was overdrawn to the extreme in the end. He couldn't control himself completely, and suddenly fell out of strength during training, which surprised Marco and others. Don't be distracted, go on. Upon seeing this, Whitebeard immediately gave a low voice. Everyone clenched their teeth and continued to hold on, their bodies trembling unceasingly, as if they would fall down at any time. But they showed strong willpower in front of Whitebeard and persisted desperately. Advertisement. But even so, now every second is as long as an hour to them, and they have to pay huge willpower and strength to hold on for one more second. Finally, Jay Arrow couldn't hold on anymore, and fell down 5 minutes after Beasta. Whitebeard asked Beasta and Arogo to take them into rest, and now only Marco and Joe's were left. According to normal circumstances, these two people should be Joe's will stick to the end, because his endurance is indeed very strong. But after a while, Joe's fell down first, and then Marco also fell. Because Marco had been stubbornly carrying on that critical point, he would have fallen a long time ago. But because of his superior willpower, he was unwilling to fall before Joe's, after all, as the first captain. Marco had promised Whitebeard before that he would not be disappointed, and he was naturally desperate to do this. Therefore, Marco insisted on relying entirely on his unwilling thoughts. So when Joe's fell down, Marco sent it down with this breath, and fell down immediately. Help them to rest, Whitebeard ordered immediately, with a relieved expression on his face. Whitebeard deliberately stood here to put pressure on them. Only by pushing himself to the higher extreme, the higher the gain in training will be zero. The purpose of training is to continuously break through yourself, even if you persist for a while, it is a breakthrough. And Whitebeard was quite satisfied with their performance just now, and each of them tried their best. And after watching Marco and their training process, then the crew felt very fortunate. Because they don't need to undergo such cruel training. Advertisement. Am I still alive? It's terrible. After a few minutes of rest, Beasta had the strength to speak. I feel that my body doesn't belong to me anymore. Brother Arrow lay motionless on the bed. Hey, I feel like my muscles can be paralyzed. Did you train like this before? Joe said angrily. It was okay before, but Whitebeard made this arrangement for us after you came back. I think it should be the same tomorrow. Marco said. 4 people are lying in the same room, and there are no other people. What? I will continue tomorrow, so the body will not be able to stand it. Joe suddenly felt a sense of fear, which was more terrifying than making him fight. Yeah, with the intensity of today, the muscles will definitely be sore tomorrow. Will you be able to stick to it by then? Yaluo's heart also retreated. The key is that I don't know if it is really effective for our improvement. It seems that it does not help our combat effectiveness. 5.0 inches Beasta expressed doubts. Because he also received red-haired guidance before, basically all about hockey and swordsmanship, real dry goods. But now he hasn't mastered those skills, or even has time to practice, instead he has to be tempered by such training. Don't ask, I just listen to my dad what he says. It's only the first stage. Marco tried to stop them from complaining further. At this time Whitebeard pushed the door in, and several of them quickly sat up from the bed. Father! Several people shouted at the same time. Well, you performed well today. Rest early and get up early tomorrow. Whitebeard nodded and said to them. I see, old man. Marco replied immediately, and the others looked at each other, thinking that it was so. Chapter 218. Pointing Marco. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Damn, I have to train tomorrow. After Whitebeard left, Arogo suddenly complained. Hey, don't complain, take the time to rest. After talking, Joe's closed his eyes and started to sleep. Go to bed early and let your body relax overnight. The training content should be reduced tomorrow. After speaking, Marco fell asleep, and Arogo and Beasta didn't say anything anymore. But this night, the 4 of them all slept very poorly, and even dreamed of training in the middle of the night. On the second day, after they got up, they started training in accordance with Whitebeard's requirements. Whitebeard called them over and stood in front of them. You 4, let's train for half a day today. Whitebeard said to them. Really? That's great. Thank you, Daddy. Several people quickly expressed joy, and Whitebeard continued. You train in the morning, and I personally guide you in the afternoon. Oh 1. Several people were shocked, wondering if Whitebeard was going to actually guide them in actual combat. So Marco and the others immediately began weight-bearing training, although after a night's rest. But their muscles are very sore, even worse than they were yesterday. This is also very normal. Generally after high-intensity training, the muscles begin to show this kind of soreness the next day. Advertisement. Fortunately, it was only half a day of training, and Marco and the others showed a very happy mood. Because half a day is still very good to persevere, but it is much simpler than yesterday. Marco, I don't know what Dad will guide us back this afternoon, do you have a count? When training, Yaluo was more curious. I don't know about this. Dad hasn't told me about it, but I think it should be to instruct skills or something. Marco replied casually. I don't know if the instruction in the afternoon will be very tiring. Beasta couldn't help but worry a little. However, Joe's is holding very good hope. Don't worry, it will definitely be easier than this kind of training now. For this kind of devil training, Joe's also had to be convinced, but he felt that the actual guidance must be easier. Hope. In this way, the morning's time passed quickly, and Marco and them were also very tired at this time. Because they have not recovered from yesterday's fatigue, after a morning of training, their fatigue has increased exponentially. After dinner and lunch, Marco and the others gathered in front of Whitebeard. Whitebeard couldn't help laughing as he looked at the 4 people, although their faces were bright but tired. How about it? Did yesterday's training feel effective? Facing Whitebeard's question, Marco immediately replied, Father, I still don't see any effect yet. How come you can't see it? Each of you release hockey and try it. Whitebeard said immediately. Release hockey now. Joe's felt a little strange. Advertisement. Not only him, but other people are also strange. After all, releasing hockey is a bit exhausting. It's nothing normally, but they are not in a good state of mind now. But Marco did exactly what Whitebeard said, and saw his fists clenched. A strand of hockey was released from the center of the body, and Marco's hands were immediately covered with black hockey. How do you feel? Whitebeard asked. Marco's face was a little strange. He immediately turned into a state of phoenix, and was pleasantly surprised to find that his use of hockey had improved significantly. Father, the process of releasing hockey seems to be easier than usual, and using hockey and fruit is much smoother. Marco replied in surprise. Although the degree of this progress is not great, the feeling for Marco is still very obvious. Really? Jose asked, and then he also released hockey and fruit power, as did the others. Sure enough, several of them felt that their use of hockey was a little smoother. Among these people, except Marco, the others were not proficient in the use of hockey. Marco's armed color and observation hockey are quite satisfactory, not weak, but not strong either. Jose is biased towards armament hockey, Bista is biased towards observation hockey, and Arag is the weakest against hockey. Therefore, the first step for Whitebeard to train them is to use hockey. Father, how did this do it, and why do we have such a good effect in weight-bearing training? Marco asked very curiously and pleasantly. Although there was only one day, the effect had already appeared. Such progress was simply terrifying. Guhahaha. Hockey, although it depends on everyone's aptitude, there are some dumb ways that can be forcibly improved. As long as you understand the nature of hockey, you will find that the benefits of weight training go far beyond this. Advertisement. Hockey can comprehensively show a person's strength, but there are also many influencing factors. One of them is the strength of the body, because your hockey is not very good. Therefore, under the training plan I developed, I can see very obvious results. Whitebeard also explained some of his insights to them, and several people were shocked after hearing it. Papa, but I still don't understand why physical strength affects the use of hockey. Jose asked again. Weight-bearing training can speed up the internal circulation of your 9/17s, and at the same time increase your lung capacity. In other words, more gas can be contained in the body. When using hockey, the circulation in the body will also participate indirectly. The stronger the internal circulation is, the smoother the use of hockey. Of course, there is a prerequisite that you all have to know how to use hockey, and hockey's foundation is not too high. After Whitebeard explained it clearly, everyone also suddenly realized. In the following time, Whitebeard began to personally guide the four of them to conduct special training. Whitebeard first came next to Marco and said to him, "What I taught you last time, how far can you reach it now?" Before, Whitebeard had once instructed Marco alone once, asking him to focus the flame of the phoenix on one point of his body. The highly compressed phoenix flame has very strong power, not only as a means of attack, but also has a recovery effect. In other words, even if the enemy wants to counteract the moves, Phoenix's flame can be automatically restored under the opponent's attack. This is definitely a very useful move when fighting against the enemy. And Marco had been training this before, and saw that he raised his hands very confidently and clenched them into fists. Chapter 219. Respective characteristics. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. I saw the cyan flame around Marco quickly gathered in the direction of his arm, and finally gathered in the place where his fist was completely. The cyan flame looked very solid, and its power had been compressed to a certain extent. Around the cyan flame, the space seemed to fluctuate. Marco felt that if he hit the enemy with his fists at this time, the power that would burst out would also be considerable. However, Marco only maintained this state for 2 to 3 seconds, and he quickly returned to his original state. Father, I can only hold on for so long, Marco said immediately after he recovered, with a slight regret in his tone. But this is the greatest extent Marco can do so far, and it takes a huge amount of effort to persist for 2 seconds. Whitebeard nodded, and comforted. Well, it's already pretty good. You can already reach this level if you don't spend much time, and there will be opportunities to improve in the future. Father, what should I do for the next training? Marco asked immediately. I saw Whitebeard facing the sea by himself, and suddenly punched out. A crack suddenly appeared in the space in front, and a shock force penetrated, hitting the sea directly. A huge wave was hit in the sky. Whitebeard turned his head and said to Marco, "Just like me, release your cyan flame with hockey." Huh, bring hockey. Marco was a little surprised at once, because it was too difficult to do. It is not so easy to simply release the cyan flame first, because it is a compressed cyan flame. Advertisement. Not to mention covering hockey on it, which is equivalent to 2 difficulties. If you want to practice, you are going through the barriers one by one. Marco did not expect that Whitebeard would directly give himself such a difficult goal. Father, with my current ability, I am afraid it will take a long time to complete this goal. Marco said very self-consciously. Then keep practicing. I won't give you a time limit, as long as you move forward according to the goal I give you. Whitebeard replied lightly. Marco immediately understood what Whitebeard meant, nodded and began to practice. Whitebeard came to Jose and said to Jose, your characteristic is defense, but the style of our Whitebeard pirates must be offensive, and you are good at armament hockey, so you can use it to attack. Father, although my attack is heavy, it is easy to be avoided by others. Joes also understands his shortcomings. Whitebeard nodded. Of course, speed and melee combat are your shortcomings. You have to learn to use your advantages. I will show you a way. You have to strengthen your strength, but you have to reduce the coverage area of your own fruit, that is, you can fruit part of your body and then cover it with hockey. When attacking the enemy, because part of the fruit coverage is reduced, your speed will increase slightly, and then your strength will be stronger. After Whitebeard finished speaking, Joes was also suddenly enlightened. Indeed, there is no need to turn his whole body into diamonds when fighting. Although this is safer, it is also a drag on oneself, but the partialization of the fruit also requires precise control by oneself. So, Joes began to practice this way, and Whitebeard came to Beast's side. Red Hair taught you a lot of tricks before, right? Whitebeard asked first. Advertisement. Yes, I think it is still very helpful for my promotion. Beasta replied very satisfied. Whitebeard nodded, and then said, in this case, I won't teach you anything about it. First, you can master the red hair skills. I will only guide you a little bit, and that's strength. Observation hockey is your strength. Combining with swordsmanship skills will greatly increase your combat effectiveness, but if you encounter a defensive enemy, your combat effectiveness will be greatly reduced. On this point, Beasta himself knew that his attack was indeed not that strong. For example, covering armament hockey on the double knives, he is not so proficient, and the performance is not as good as expected. Father, what should I do now? Beasta asked immediately with concern. It's okay, I'll guide you. You do this. First practice hockey's retracting and unfolding, at least 100 times, and wait until you can retract and unfold freely, then practice covering hockey on the double knives. After Whitebeard finished speaking, Beasta nodded immediately, and then resolutely started his practice. Finally, Whitebeard came to Allure. Although he had the advantage of fruit, his true strength was the worst among the four. However, his potential is also great. If he can develop the fruit perfectly, then his achievements in the future should not be under Ace. Speaking of Ace, Ace and Ace are somewhat similar in appearance, which is also one of the reasons why Whitebeard wanted to accept him as his son when he saw him. Seeing him, Whitebeard is like seeing Ace, very nostalgic. Brother Arrow, your hockey is the worst among them. Now your immediate delay is to practice hockey. You must use it as quickly as possible, regardless of the effect. Whitebeard was a lot tougher on Arrow in order to stimulate him to be more diligent. Advertisement. Sure enough, after hearing Whitebeard's tone, Arroyo also agreed very firmly. Father, I will, but I need someone who can accompany you to practice. It is difficult for me to practice alone. Only actual combat is the best way to practice, said Yaluo. Well, are you thinking about actual combat right now? Whitebeard admired his opinion slightly. Originally, Whitebeard would arrange the actual combat stage for them all, but he didn't expect that Arugo wanted to conduct actual combat from the beginning. Whitebeard agrees with his thought promise method, because actual combat does have this effect, and of course, it will be very cruel. Well, I promise you, let Wable be your sparring partner. Whitebeard said casually. Let Whitebeard 2 be his opponent. Whitebeard thought that Allure would refuse, or show resistance. Because he is still a lot away from Whitebeard 2, he can't even learn how to use hockey when he fights. Instead, he will be battered and swollen. However, to Whitebeard's surprise, Arroyo agreed without even thinking about it. Okay, Daddy. When Arroyo agreed, there was no half of fear or hesitation in his eyes, and even a firm stalk appeared. This guy is not weak. Whitebeard secretly praised Arroyo even more. After that, Whitebeard did not change, and let Whitebeard 2 be the sparring partner of Allure. Chapter 220. Marine's Plan. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. When Whitebeard 2 was called over, he showed some happiness, and he finally started to show his talents. Wable, now your task is to accompany him in the fight, try to use your strength, as long as you don't hurt him seriously. Whitebeard said to him. Hey, I know, I will have a sense of measure, hurry up and start. Whitebeard eyes gaze stared directly at Arroyo. This guy's power is too terrifying, you have to be cautious, otherwise it will be over soon. Facing his gaze, Yaluo couldn't help but start 12 points of energy. Well, let's start that long. Wable, play slowly, don't end too soon. Whitebeard left after speaking. You have to hold on for a while to make me enjoy it. Whitebeard 2 said to Brother Arrow with a grin, and then rushed up immediately. Allure immediately turned into a whirlwind, and the two sides fought together. In this way, the training of the four people is proceeding smoothly, and everyone is very hardworking. On the other hand, after the last battle, Marine lost a lot. In the huge wave 930 caused by Whitebeard, 5 of their warships were completely submerged in the sea, and at the same time they lost about several hundred seamen. Of course, this loss is not a big deal for the action of attacking 4 Emperor's pirate groups at once. However, this also made the horror of Whitebeard deeply carved in the hearts of all the Marines present at the time, that Whitebeard, when he is angry, the sea will be overthrown. After Garp returned to naval headquarters, they began a plan to study powerful weapons. Advertisement. In fact, the failure of this operation is nothing to Marine, because their goal has been achieved. The Whitebeard pirates and Red Hair pirates have been separated. As long as the forces of the 4 emperors are not united, it is not a threat to Marine. Before Whitebeard was relaunched, the Marine government had always thought this way, and it was the same for all the top executives, including 5 elders. As long as the 4 emperors have a tendency to unite, then 5 elders will be afraid of it. But after this time, Garp thoroughly understood that the Whitebeard pirate group does not need to unite with other 4 emperors' forces. He himself is a great threat to the ABFA, Marine government. Not to mention the Whitebeard pirates, it is Whitebeard alone. I am afraid that he will be able to single-handedly enter the naval headquarters and subvert the Marine government. Even if Marine can finally subdue Whitebeard, I am afraid it will have to pay a huge price. This is very shocking. It is a huge potential threat to the Marine government, although Whitebeard did not use it. But he has the ability to do so, so it's the truth that Piff is not guilty of guilty. Therefore, after Momosuke and others talked about the dangers of Whitebeard, Akainu immediately explained the plan to launch a pirate weapon. It is a weapon designed specifically for pirates of the 4 emperors level, similar to a pacifist. But the pacifist machine is very good against ordinary pirates, but as long as it is stronger, it is like a toy. The purpose of the pirate weapon is to create a weapon that can fight the 4 emperors. Advertisement. This kind of plan is undoubtedly very difficult, and to complete this weapon, one of the most important resources is seastone. Seastone, a kind of magical mineral produced in the sea, is regarded as the crystallization of the sea, so it is also equivalent to the sea to some extent. Therefore, those who are afraid of the fruit of the sea will also be afraid of seastone. As long as they touch the seastone, they will lose their ability and mobility and be controlled. Marine government prisons use seastone handcuffs to restrain pirates who commit crimes. However, seastone is very precious, so it is considered a very rare mineral. Even the Marine government can't take out seastone indefinitely, but in this plan, it needs a lot of seastone. Therefore, under the authorization of Akainu, the Marine Scientific Research Base sent many researchers to find areas rich in seastone. At this time, the enthusiasm for Whitebeard in the world has slowly diminished, because there has been no major incident on Whitebeard. In New World, events happen almost every moment. Of course, this decline is equivalent to Whitebeard himself. In fact, there are still many people who are very enthusiastic about discussing Whitebeard. Among them, the largest force is Blackbeard. The Blackbeard main group, Blackbeard and the Cadres are all here, and in front of them, there are 2 familiar young people. Ha ha ha, how about it? Have you considered it clearly? In the future, I will be the man who will rule the world. Blackbeard laughed wantonly at the 2 young people, making no secret of his ambition to dominate the world. And these 2 young people, it was Kid and Kira, who had been wandering around since they made an agreement with Joe's. Advertisement. But he never saw Joe's come back, instead he waited for the Blackbeard team. Although these 2 men were far behind his cadres, they were supernovas anyway, and Blackbeard forcibly took them away. As one of the 4 emperors, Blackbeard does not seem to be happy now, on the contrary, in fact he is a little trembling. Because, he knew, that man would find him for revenge. That, the horror man who once stood on the top of the world but has now surpassed the top, One Piece, Edward Newgate, known as Whitebeard. Although I don't know when Whitebeard will attack him, Blackbeard knows that this day will come sooner or later. Now, Blackbeard knows all the news about Whitebeard in New World. He knows that this man is stronger than before. Therefore, Blackbeard is cautious and trembling. He must prepare early, recruit manpower, and expand his influence. Even if it was Kid's existence that Blackbeard had never looked up to before, restrictions have become his object of wooing, albeit by coercive means. Hey, I didn't expect that we wanted to join the Whitebeard pirates, but we were tied up by the Blackbeard pirates. It's really dramatic, Kid said helplessly to Kira in a low voice. When they joined the Whitebeard pirate group, they were preparing to display their ambitions, and to follow today's One Piece, even as an ordinary captain, it is extremely honorable. Just like Shanks, an intern on Roger's ship, Shanks is now one of the 4 emperors, and it is a look up. However, they were caught by the Blackbeard pirates. Although Kid had resisted, he had no resistance in front of Blackbeard. Chapter 221, Crisis Awareness. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. If it is just an ordinary pirate group, then Kid and the others did not hesitate so much. After all, they were forced to join, so it is okay to find a chance to quit in the future. It's not a shame, but the pirates in front of them are Blackbeard pirates, and Blackbeard and Whitebeard are natural enemies, which is well known. The whole world knows that Whitebeard almost died because of Blackbeard. Now that he died and resurrected, Blackbeard is definitely the target of Whitebeard's crusade. The whole world is also waiting to see this good show, and if they join the Blackbeard pirates, wouldn't they have to face the Whitebeard pirates in the future? This is undoubtedly unacceptable, but their position is now threatened. If you refuse Blackbeard, then they may be wiped out. That cruel Blackbeard, he will definitely do so without hesitation. Therefore, Kid did not answer for a long time, and Blackbeard also showed impatience. Quickly answer me, how are you going to decide? Blackbeard urged impatiently. Hearing that, Kid and Kira looked at each other, and they both saw the compromise in each other's eyes. We promise you to join your pirate group, Kid said without any fluctuations. Blackbeard immediately laughed. Ha 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 ha, that's right, those who know the current affairs are brilliant, you are all smart people, follow me, you can have a more brilliant future. Bahas, take them down and make arrangements. Blackbeard said. Advertisement. Yes, Captain. Badgers then ordered Kid and Kira away. Is there anything happening in the Whitebeard pirates recently? Blackbeard asked afterwards, he was very concerned about this question. I heard that there was some contact with red hair pirates recently. Shanks went to Whitebeard and didn't know what happened. Furthermore, Marine sent out to attack them. I heard that Garp and Kizaru were leading them, but they didn't get much effect in the end. Shiryu immediately replied. Hearing this, Blackbeard's brows were also frowned. This Whitebeard, first really hope Marine can eliminate him. Blackbeard said bitterly. Captain, don't say such meaningless words anymore. Let's do something. I am afraid that these low-level combat powers will not be able to deal with the Whitebeard pirates. Van Oka said. For Whitebeard, every cadre in the Blackbeard pirate group feared his existence, and at the same time wanted to solve him very much. This kind of heart is contradictory, but it is very normal, because people who follow Blackbeard have this kind of psychology. Blackbeard suddenly fell into thinking. He said with great regret. Now Auntie, Kaido doesn't pay attention to us, and Red Hair can't unite with us. It's really a pity. Originally, Blackbeard hoped to unite with the four emperors, so the chance of success against Whitebeard was also higher. But he did not expect that these two forces did not agree. But this is also normal, because Blackbeard only considered Whitebeard's threat to the entire world, but did not consider another thing. That is, the whole world knows that Whitebeard and Blackbeard have an antagonism, so whenever Whitebeard wants to deal with the four emperors, then Blackbeard must be taken first. Advertisement. Therefore, no one wants to unite with Blackbeard at this time. Isn't this taking the initiative to help Blackbeard resist Whitebeard, and consuming his own power for no reason? Therefore, as long as they are smarter, any four emperors hopes to sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight, and Whitebeard against Blackbeard will inevitably consume it. Therefore, no four emperors are willing to become Blackbeard's teammates, so Blackbeard can only collect these low-end combat power. Captain, if Whitebeard comes to deal with us now, I'm afraid we will have nothing to fight back. Badges said worriedly. This worry is the same for Blackbeard. As a traitor to the Whitebeard pirates, Blackbeard has always had a shadow on Whitebeard. Especially now there are constant rumors that Whitebeard's strength has surpassed its previous peak. Although I didn't see Whitebeard's record with his own eyes, Blackbeard was inevitably caught in a kind of fear in the face of constant rumors. Of course he believes that the information will not be false, so he has no idea, even if he gets dark fruit. Even Blackbeard's strength is unfathomable, but he doesn't think he can beat Whitebeard. Captain, if you can resist Whitebeard, we cadres should be able to solve Whitebeard's captains. At this time Shiryu tried to comfort Blackbeard. Zero seeking flowers, zero. Blackbeard heard the words and thought about it. Previously, Whitebeard had a 16-year-old captain. Although it is not a small one, there are only a few at the core. Marco and Beasta, Joes, these three are more difficult to deal with, the others are not to be feared. The main players on Blackbeard's side include the fighting champion Badgers, Shiryu of the Rain, Van Oka, Pizarro, Raffet, Catherine, the Wolf, the Basque, the Poisonous Q. If you insist, you can definitely fight. War. Advertisement. However, the most uncertain factor in this is Whitebeard. Blackbeard doesn't think he can resist Whitebeard. As long as he is defeated, no matter what the battlefield situation is, then the Blackbeard pirate group will be destroyed. Point 0. So, at least for now, Blackbeard feels that he still needs some strength here, but there is no big force that can join him. Not only four emperors, Blackbeard even contacted Shichibukai, but none of them agreed to him. Of course, in this special period, Whitebeard is in the limelight, and no one dares to offend Whitebeard at this time. Yes, Captain, you can definitely fight Whitebeard with your ability. At this time, Badges also said. Badgers is Blackbeard's loyal captain, and he has always sought after Blackbeard has two fruiting abilities. Since the war on the top, Blackbeard has seized the shocking power of Whitebeard and became the first person to have the power of both fruits at the same time. Blackbeard has both the power of shaking and the ability of dark fruit, both of which are very rare and powerful fruits. But even so, Blackbeard still feels that he is not an opponent of Whitebeard. Although I haven't really contacted Whitebeard today, Blackbeard has also heard so much news. Defeating Kizaru Garp, the red-haired Hawkeye, is nothing to Blackbeard, because Blackbeard asked himself that he could do it, but more importantly, the news that Blackbeard heard is that Whitebeard defeated these people very easily, and later also confronted Garp and Kizaru at the same time, and still be able to defeat them. According to this record, then Whitebeard must be at least 2 admiral strengths. And Chapter 222, Joint Plan. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Of course, the strength of these 2 admiral refers to the fusion of the 2 admiral, not simply 1 plus 1. Therefore, although Blackbeard has 2 major fruit abilities, he does not think he can defeat Whitebeard. This is also because Blackbeard's shortcomings are equally obvious, that is, when he is hurt, he will be more sensitive than ordinary people. In other words, double the power can cause twice the damage on Blackbeard, so Blackbeard is not so invincible compared with high-end combat power. But Blackbeard is certain that it is powerful, only if Blackbeard is allowed to fight against 2 Marine Admiral by himself. Then Blackbeard thinks he might be able to fight them back and forth, the ending is unknown, but if you want to defeat them easily, then it is difficult to do it now. At this moment, Shiryu suddenly thought of something, he immediately said to Blackbeard, there is another way. Blackbeard immediately asked curiously, what is the solution? We can go to unite the Revolutionary Army and promise them that if we can eliminate the Whitebeard pirates, then we will equally divide the Whitebeard territory with them, and O1 will also help them fight the world government. After Shiryu finished speaking, other people also thought that this was a feasible way. After all, the Revolutionary Army also has a lot of power, and even the world government will find it difficult. If you can really unite the Revolutionary Army, then you have a great chance of winning against Whitebeard. Blackbeard also thinks it makes sense, but there is still a key point. But the Revolutionary Army's goal is only the world government, and the promises we give them are quite illusory. Are they really willing to agree to cooperate with us? Blackbeard is not very optimistic about this. To say that the Revolutionary Army is really a mysterious organization. Advertisement. Although everyone knows this organization, the world government has been committed to destroying them. But the Revolutionary Army has always existed, not only showing tenacious vitality, but also very mysterious. Outsiders basically don't know that the Revolutionary Army is a mysterious situation, how many cadres and members there are, and so on. The only information most people can know is that the leader of the Revolutionary Army is called the Dragon. How strong is this person? Blackbeard hasn't seen them before, but if it can fight against the world government, will it be bad? But Blackbeard has heard of one thing, that is, the Revolutionary Army generally rarely intervenes in the previous fights of the pirates. Their purpose is only to overthrow the world government, and they have been acting secretly. Therefore, in terms of probability, it is very low that the Revolutionary Army and the Blackbeard pirates will unite against the Whitebeard pirates. Because this is a great disadvantage to the Revolutionary Army, once the action fails, it is equivalent to planting one more enemy, and Whitebeard will definitely not let them go. Worse, the Revolutionary Army may suffer a double blow from the world government and Whitebeard, so the world government has always hoped to pull out the Revolutionary Army. The crusade against the Whitebeard pirates is such a big action, it is impossible not to be noticed by the world government. Even in the best case, the Revolutionary Army was not attacked by the world government, and at the same time cooperated with Blackbeard to destroy the Whitebeard pirates. Then they may not be able to reap the benefits they need. The Blackbeard pirates are likely to repent of their promises, after all, verbal guarantees are not very restrictive. The knowledge that Blackbeard himself considered, really should stand on the standpoint of the Revolutionary Army, I am afraid it will only be more complicated than this. So Blackbeard doubted the possibility of the Revolutionary Army uniting with them. Advertisement. At this time Shiryu replied, Captain, whether the Revolutionary Army agrees or not, let's send someone to communicate. Isn't the Revolutionary Army always seeing the dragons but not seeing the end, how can we contact them? Badgers asked immediately. Well, it is true, but I believe that as long as we make a noise, they will take the initiative to unite with us. Shiryu suddenly showed a nasty smile. Shiryu, do you have any idea? Blackbeard asked immediately. Captain, when I was in Impel Down, I learned a lot about the identity of Dragon, the leader of the Revolutionary Army. His identity? Yes, the leader of the Revolutionary Army, Dragon, is Marine Vice Admiral, the son of Iron Fist Garp. I know this, but Garp is a legendary existence in Marine, and their father and son do not affect each other. Does this matter? Captain, do you know that Long also has a son? Long's son. I have never heard of this. He is one of the supernovas, Straw Hat Boy, Luffy. What? It's him. Hearing the name Luffy, Blackbeard also showed a hint of surprise. Because Blackbeard has also had contact with Luffy several times, he hates Luffy this person, but admires his ability very much. That guy has great potential. I didn't expect it to be Dragon's son. You mean, if we catch Luffy, then the dragon will definitely come, right? Blackbeard asked. Advertisement. No, if you really catch Luffy, then the dragon will definitely be angry, and the chance of cooperation will be small. Shiryu immediately shook his head. If you don't catch Luffy, what do you do? Blackbeard asked again. Captain, we only need to publish the news that we caught Luffy. Of course, we don't need to publish on a large scale. It just needs to investigate in advance. As far as I know, the Revolutionary Army has many branches of the 930. We only need to release news on a small scale in some places where the Revolutionary Army may exist. After Shiryu finished speaking, Blackbeard suddenly felt enlightened, and this method had to be considered very thoughtful. Because if the news is released on a large scale, it may cause unnecessary troubles. Although Blackbeard doesn't like Luffy, but I have to say that Luffy is very popular. Blackbeard heard that Luffy's straw hat was sent to him by Red, and the red-haired arm was broken because of Luffy, which shows that their relationship is good. In addition, during the war at the top, Blackbeard also saw many people protecting Luffy. Especially the Whitebeard pirates, they also take good care of Luffy. So if a large-scale release captures Luffy's news, it may attract the attention of these people. When the time comes, it will be detrimental to them. Therefore, such a small-scale release of information will attract the active contact of the Revolutionary Army. This is undoubtedly a perfect plan. Well, just do as you said. This matter must be carried out as soon as possible. During this period, we will continue to collect other supernovas at the same time. Blackbeard said. As a result, the Blackbeard pirates then targeted other supernovas, and at the same time announced the news that they had captured Luffy in some areas. Chapter 223. Revolutionary Army joins. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. As the Blackbeard pirates gradually released some news that they had captured Luffy, it was soon known by the Revolutionary Army. In the Revolutionary Army headquarters, Long Jung was in the room to discuss plans with some cadres, and received a call. Boss, we found a news in Conch Town that Luffy was captured by Blackbeard's thieves. Waiting for my order. Yes. Hearing this news, Long was not surprised or panicked for the first time, but he was very calm. Boss, what happened? After the call, Sabo, who was present, immediately asked. Luffy was caught by Blackbeard. Long replied. What? Luffy him? Hearing this news, Sabo immediately became uncomfortable. Since leaving Ace and Luffy, Sabo has always missed their 939. Some time ago, he even heard the news of Ace's death, which was a serious blow to Sabo. And now that Luffy was also caught by Blackbeard, how could Sabo not worry? Where is it? Why did Blackbeard arrest Luffy? Koala, an officer of the Revolutionary Army, also asked with concern. She knew very well that Sabo and Ace, Luffy and others had a deep relationship. Advertisement. There is no conclusion about this matter, maybe Blackbeard has another purpose. Long said with a deep face. As the most dangerous person in the world in the eyes of the world government, Long is also a little afraid of this Blackbeard. The powerful dark fruit can steal other fruit abilities, the only double fruit ability in the world. Of course, what makes Long fear the most is not his ability, but his madness and conspiracy ambition. This is not a simple and easy character to deal with, and the small news of catching Luffy is spread, then it means that Blackbeard has not killed him. If this is the case, it is most likely that Blackbeard will use Luffy for something. Does Blackbeard want to steal Luffy's fruit abilities? The dragon guessed keenly. Although Blackbeard has only shown his dark fruit ability during the top war, Dragon is very concerned about this opinion. This shows that Blackbeard has a good understanding of devil fruit, and he is likely to do so. Boss, I will go to investigate before applying. I will react accordingly and will never act impulsively. At this time, Sabo immediately asked for orders, showing strong determination. Luffy is in trouble. How could he sit on the sidelines as an elder brother? Even if it is a trap, he has to go. Boss, please let me be with Sabo, I will remind him all the time. Koala also said immediately at this time. In fact, Koala is really worried that Sabo will be impulsive. After all, she has seen how sad Sabo was when she heard about Ace's death. Well, pay attention. As a revolutionary army, you must act with caution and not easily cause trouble. You leave now, I will mobilize the surrounding personnel to support you at the same time. Long also decisively agreed, and let them set off immediately. So Sabo and Koala set off immediately. Advertisement. It won't happen, Blackbeard is not easy to deal with. The cadre Haku looked at the back of Sabo's departure, and couldn't help feeling a little worried. Trust him, he is the chief of staff of our revolutionary army. Long said without wavering. Well, I hope they can rescue Luffy safely. Haku nodded. After Sabo and Koala left the headquarters of the Revolutionary Army, they marched all the way towards Conch Town, and soon came to this place. Sure enough, when Sabo came here, he found that the newspaper information here was all about Luffy being caught by Blackbeard. My dear, is this a deliberate release of news? It seems that this matter is not simple. Koala likes to call Sabo dear when there is no one else, and she is also very smart. The reason behind such a big announcement must be very complicated. Sabo also nodded, and then heaved a sigh of relief, which would be a good thing for him. That's good. The more complicated it is, Luffy is not easy to be dangerous. If it is just a simple conflict, then Luffy will be very dangerous. Sabo calmly analyzed the rationale behind it, and Koala agreed with this point. Then what shall we do now? Honey, Koala asked again. Now I think someone should have noticed us. Let's find a place to stay and wait for someone to contact us. Sabo is very confident in his analysis. He feels that if someone deliberately releases the news, then the purpose is naturally to attract people who have a deep relationship with Luffy. At present, apart from the Revolutionary Army, Sabo can't think of other characters that the other party wants to attract. Moreover, so far, what Sabo most suspects is the Blackbeard pirates themselves. Okay, let's go. Advertisement. Sabo and Koala soon found an inn and stayed there. By night, all the related information outside was revoked. Sabo was in the room, carefully watching the movement outside, and soon he heard some sounds. Be careful, someone is coming. Sabo reminded Koala immediately. Koala immediately cheered up and became vigilant with Sabo. Outside the room, a figure appeared quietly, and then when he was about to push the door in, Sabo's hands bend 3 fingers like a dragon's claw, while armament hockey covers them. The next moment, Sabo's dragon claws pierced the man's throat directly. Ah, forgive me, forgive me. The man yelled immediately, completely startled by Sabo's sudden attack. Who are you and why are you here? Sabo didn't let go of his dragon claws, but asked very harshly. Sorry, you are the chief of staff of the Revolutionary Army, Sabo. I came to you specially. I am a 5.0 crew member of the Blackbeard Pirates. The man said tremblingly. He is not a member of the Blackbeard ship, just ordinary crew. Oh, so what does Blackbeard want to do with me? Sabo immediately showed a weird face, thinking that things really were the same as he thought, and this whole incident was probably directed and acted by Blackbeard. Maybe Luffy was not caught by Blackbeard at all, just to elicit their Revolutionary Army. Otherwise, why did Blackbeard know their whereabouts as soon as they appeared? Isn't this premeditated and waited? But, thinking of this, although Sabo still doesn't understand what Blackbeard's trick is. But you can rest assured that Luffy will not be in any danger for the time being. Even if Blackbeard really catches Luffy, since he wants to draw out the Revolutionary Army, he naturally has a plan and will not harm Luffy. Chapter 224. Sabo's Strength. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Mr. Sabo, let our captain, Blackbeard, tell you personally. The man said cautiously, and then took out a phone worm. Hey, I got in touch with Mr. Sabo, the general staff of the Revolutionary Army. He is by my side. Please ask the captain to answer the call. The man said immediately after connecting. Ha ha ha, did you find it so soon? Good job. Blackbeard's laughter came afterwards. Sabo took the call from that person and said coldly, Blackbeard, I heard you caught Luffy. Isn't that true? Ha ha ha, of course it's not true. It's worthy of being the chief of staff of the Revolutionary Army. I actually noticed this. I don't want to hide it. The reason I did this was just to contact your leader. However, your Revolutionary Army has never missed Tibet. It is difficult for people to find it. In order to contact you, this method is probably the fastest. Blackbeard also told Sabo why he did this, and Sabo immediately asked, in that case, what do you have? Ha ha ha, although you are the general staff of the Revolutionary Army, I don't think you can do this. Why don't you help me contact your leader, and I will contact him directly? Blackbeard said. Hearing that, Sabo's eyes flickered too, and he immediately smiled and said, wow. After speaking, Sabo hung up and knocked Blackbeard's man unconscious with a knife. What's the matter, dear, what did he say? Koala asked a little surprised. Nothing, Luffy was not caught by Blackbeard. He deliberately led us to get in touch with the Revolutionary Army. He also said that he wanted to talk to the boss, but I don't know if things are as simple as he said. I don't want out of knots. Sabo explained. Advertisement. Well, you did the right thing. Let's go back and report it to the boss. Koala nodded. Therefore, the two prepared to leave Conch Town early tomorrow morning and return to the headquarters of the Revolutionary Army. But what they didn't expect was that Blackbeard sent someone to Conch Town immediately and found Sabo's location. At this time, the genius had just dawned, and Sabo and Koala were preparing to leave, but a voice suddenly appeared behind him. The general staff of the Revolutionary Army, you are such a big air, even our captain does not give face. Sabo turned his head and saw a group of people standing there hostile, and the two headed by him slightly knew him. You are Blackbeard's crew, Badgers and Shiryu of Rain. Sabo said slightly, and squeezed Koala's hand. He didn't expect that the Blackbeard pirate group could send people to find here so quickly. This speed is a bit outrageous. And these two people are both Blackbeard's right-hand men. In order to stop Sabo, Blackbeard also used a lot of power. Wahahaha, I didn't expect you to even know my name. It's my honor. Badgers laughed. But Shiryu of Rain was serious and said, Sabo, as the general staff of the Revolutionary Army, I think you should know the truth about the current affairs. Our captain did not offend you before, just want to contact your leader. You are too unwilling to give. You save face. Quote. Yes, the captain is furious about this. Badges also said. Advertisement. Really, but it's not my business. Are you trying to persecute me now? It's not that simple, Sabo said very confidently, and at the same time pulled out the water pipe behind him. Similarly, with Sabo's attitude, Koala also showed a fighting state. If she really wants to do something here, she will not be afraid. Although she was a female stream, Koala, who had been a slave to celestial dragons since she was a child, became very determined after joining the Revolutionary Army. At the same time, as a master Murloc and a disciple of Haku, Koala is not unknown. Faced with Sabo's hostile appearance, Badges also became interested. Sabo, although you are the general staff of the Revolutionary Army, your strength should not be underestimated, but I wait for the two to add up. Do you think you have a chance of winning? Badgers laughed. Although Badgers wanted to fight Sabo very much to see how strong he was, they came with a mission after all, and the main mission was to contact the leader of the Revolutionary Army, Dragon. At the same time, in order to be able to successfully cooperate with the Revolutionary Army in the future, we should not offend it too seriously now. Haha, in order to deal with me, Blackbeard sent two such powerful lineups. It seems that he really takes it seriously. Sabo smiled, but his heart was very solemn. That Badgers was easy for him to deal with, at least he couldn't keep it if he had to leave. But this Rain Shiryu, Sabo is a little afraid. As the second in command of the Revolutionary Army, Sabo also knows a lot of news. Regarding Shiryu of the Rain, Sabo knew that he was once the warden of Impel Down. He was very powerful. He and Magellan are known as the two ace of Impel Down. Impel Down is also called the Bronze Wall and Iron Wall. However, this person has a cruel character and is very bloodthirsty, so he killed a lot of prisoners and was imprisoned. Advertisement. But because of Luffy and Blackbeard's Impel Down, he was released and joined Blackbeard's camp at the same time. To be the prison director of Impel Down, his strength must be very powerful, otherwise how to suppress the prisoners and troublemakers. Sabo asked himself that he was definitely not the opponent of these two men, but it would be impossible for him to catch him without hesitation, and it would definitely cost them to catch himself. Sabo, do you really want to play with us? You are not our opponent. Yuji Shiryu emphasized once again, he does not want to hurt Sabo and affect the cooperation between the two sides. Yeah, you are really not our opponent. Why no good, can't you let us contact your leader? You don't even know what we are going to say. Bai Jess was also puzzled. They didn't expect Sabo's attitude to be so firm, and they refused to listen to anything. Come on, who is afraid of whom? Sabo also showed his own blood, with his hands directly hooked into dragon claws, and the dark armament hockey covered it. In the next moment, Sabo's figure directly rushed up, fighting with Badgers. Badger's fist collided with Sabo's dragon claws, and a wave of fluctuations broke out in an instant. HMPH, the strength is not small, but this level is not enough. Badgers said mockingly. Although, I saw Sabo running the water pipe with his other hand, knocking directly on Badger's head, causing him to shake. Rain Shiryu frowned slightly, and attacked, showing a strong pressure. Chapter 225. The Arrival of Whitebeard. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Sabo fell into the wind with Shiryu's powerful attack on the rain. Seeing this situation, Koala immediately supported him. I saw that Koala would have the right to put it on the waist, put his left hand in a martial arts pose, and after a short period of accumulation of strength, he punched out. 3000, Wa Zhengchen. A strong fist struck from the air. Yuji Shiryu was surprised when he felt the power, but he avoided it immediately. At this time, Sabo took the opportunity to launch a counterattack, continuously trying to suppress Shiryu of Rain. Koala continued to cooperate with Sabo behind him, but soon, the pirates of Badgers began to encircle Koala. Koala started fighting with these pirates, although these little pirates had little effect on Koala. But during this period, because of the lack of Koala's help, Sabo's situation is getting worse and worse. If it weren't for Sabo's sharp thinking, then I'm afraid he will be defeated soon. To deal with the two capable crew members of Blackbeard, this is not easy to do at all. And this is when the two didn't want to put Sabo to death, although Koala later solved the pirates to support Sabo. But they are still not the opponents of Badgers and Shiryu of the Rain, and, in order to protect Koala, Sabo is also restrained. Koala, I will cover you, you find a chance to retreat first at 9:30. Sabo whispered to Koala. But, you are alone. Koala was a little worried, and let her run away alone. How could she not hesitate? Advertisement. It's okay, you believe me. Sabo replied immediately. Koala also understands that her stay here is just a drag, but she doesn't think Sabo can escape by herself. If the final result is to be caught, then it is better to let them be caught together. After hesitating again and again, Koala decided to believe in Sabo, and he could report to the dragon if he left. Well, be careful yourself. After that, Koala was just about to leave, but her intention was also seen by Shiryu of Rain. It's not that easy to escape. Shiryu of Rain appeared in front of Koala like a ghost, blocking her way. Sabo was going to fight against Shiryu of Rain so that Koala could leave, but Badgers held him back. Although Badgers is almost the same in strength as Sabo, it is not a matter of a moment to say that defeating him. Damn it. Sabo felt a little nervous. He could have an accident, but Koala must not have an accident. If something happens, it will be a devastating blow for Sabo. Hey, you should stop resisting, otherwise she will get hurt. Badgers also saw that Sabo was very anxious at this time, so he entangled him even more, and at the same time spoke to stimulate him. Damn it. Dragon's breath. Sabo was also a little angry. He pierced the hard dragon's claws under the ground, releasing a powerful force. Suddenly, the entire ground began to collapse. Badgers and Shiryu of Rain were both affected, and they wanted to escape. Sabo took this opportunity to hug Koala by his waist, leapt forward, and jumped onto the roof to escape. Quickly chase. Don't let him run away. Yuji Shiryu said immediately. Advertisement. They immediately chased after him, and just like that, there were figures jumping on the roof of Conch Town. Sabo wants to go to the port at this time. If it is fighting at sea, at least some of the enemy's advantages can be reduced. Moreover, there is the most critical point, that is, Sabo does not want to be noticed by other revolutionary forces. If they participate, they will only die in vain. However, when approaching the port, Sabo also saw Badgers and their captain stopping there, with some pirates on it. Stop him! Badgers shouted, and the captain's pirates immediately reacted, but they surrounded Sabo. Although Sabo was still holding Koala, his skill was still not what they could stop, and they quickly highlighted their encirclement. But this also affected Sabo's time, and I saw that Badgers and Shiryu of Rain were also getting closer and closer. Moreover, Sabo's persistent resistance has made Yuji Shiryu a little angry. Just interrupt his feet and let him keep running around. Shiryu of Rain said bitterly. Don't interrupt 1 foot at most. Badgers retorted immediately. Rain no Shiryu contained a strong anger and launched a violent charge on Sabo, trying to launch a surprise attack on Sabo from behind. My dear, be careful. Koala hurriedly reminded Sabo nervously that Shiryu of Rain had raised his saber thunderstorm and launched a thunderous blow. Sabo didn't look back but felt the chill, which contained endless killing intent. This Shiryu of Rain, it seemed that he really had a murderous intent at this time, which Sabo didn't expect. At this moment they were close to the beach. Koala immediately jumped out of Sabo's arms and used Murloc Jujutsu. Koala wanted to use the impact of the water to counteract Shiryu's attack, but the two were so far apart that they had no effect. Advertisement. And Sabo also covered armament hockey on his arm, and the dragon claw was ready, so he could only face the blow head on. Sabo's gaze is very solemn, because he doesn't know if he can block the blow. However, he can only try his best now. Seeing that Shiryu of Rain's attack was about to hit him, a voice came from among the lightning and flint. Blackbeard pirates, here I am. A simple voice contains endless power. The strong shock unfolded from the sound, bursting out fierce power. This force seems to be able to destroy everything in general, turning this sea area upside down with shaking. At the same time, Shiryu of Rain's attack was cancelled in an instant, and he himself received a strong shock. At the same time, a storm swept through after the impact, and this terrifying force couldn't help but horrify people. Whitebeard, it's Whitebeard. Badges was familiar with Whitebeard's voice, and he recognized it immediately. Sabo was also affected by this shock, but fortunately he was not hurt. The same is true for other people. The main effect of this sonic attack is to help Sabo resist the attack of Shiryu of the Rain. It is indeed Whitebeard's voice, but he is not here. What is going on? Shiryu of Rain also began to wonder. Sabo stood on the spot, looking around constantly, and soon he found that a large ship was slowly moving on the sea far away. Although he could not see anything, it was just a small spot. But Sabo can be sure that it should be Whitebeard's boat. Chapter 226. Whitebeard's terrifying reputation. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Haha, Whitebeard is here, do you continue to fight? Sabo put his arms around him and said with a smile. Quickly, get out of here. Badgers was so scared that he was frightened. It was just a sound wave that could emit such power from such a long distance. If it was Whitebeard himself, what kind of power should it have? Therefore, In fear, Badgers and Shiryu of Rain decisively got on the boat and fled here. Quick, hurry, Badges kept urging. Although they were far away from Whitebeard's boat, they were still very scared. Seeing Badgers and the others so scared and panicked, Sabo also felt a little funny. To thank Whitebeard, Sabo and Koala stayed here and waited for Whitebeard's ship to arrive. Koala, how is it? You are not injured? Sabo asked caringly. I'm fine. I didn't expect Blackbeard's subordinates to be so powerful, even you are not an opponent. Koala said regretfully. It's okay, they didn't just run away when they met Whitebeard. Sabo suddenly laughed. That's right, this Whitebeard is really powerful, and he deserves to be said to be the One Piece. Koala also praised. As Whitebeard's ship got closer and closer, Sabo discovered that there was no Whitebeard on it. The person standing on the bow was Marco. After reaching a close enough distance, Marco stopped the ship, then turned into a state of phoenix and flew over. Advertisement. Oh, good too. Marco flew over and greeted Sabo happily. Are you the captain of Whitebeard? Why don't you see Whitebeard? Sabo nodded and asked. I'm the captain of Whitebeard's #1 team. That's the case. Daddy didn't come, but after we learned of Blackbeard's actions, we asked me to come and support you right away. Marco replied immediately. It turns out that this is the case. Blackbeard had deliberately released the news that he had caught Luffy before, trying to lead us. Blackbeard wanted to contact our leader, but I refused. Sabo also explained. Marco burst out laughing when he heard the words, ha ha ha, it really is the case. After hearing about Blackbeard's actions before, the old man guessed that he wanted to form alliances and seek companions everywhere. It seems that he was targeting the Revolutionary Army. Body. Is he no longer able to find allies? Even the attention of the Revolutionary Army dared to fight. Sabo also said. Don't worry, our Whitebeard pirates will definitely eradicate the Blackbeard pirates. He won't be rampant for a few days. Marco promised. Of course, but I am a little puzzled. What happened to Whitebeard's voice just now? Regarding this, Sabo is very confused. Even if it uses sound waves to attack, then the distance is limited. He originally thought that Whitebeard was on the ship. Although it was also very shocking, it could also be used to explain the situation. However, Whitebeard is not on the boat right now, so how did that sound wave form? This became a question in Sabo's mind. When in doubt, Sabo wants to figure it out. Marco immediately took out a phone worm, pointed to it and said, it's this. Phone worm. Sabo was surprised at once. Could it be that Whitebeard used the phone worm to attack with sound waves in the other hair? Yes, Dad recorded the sound waves in it. Once there is an emergency, it can be released. Although the power has been weakened, it is still a way to protect yourself. Advertisement. Marco was very proud to introduce that this phone worm is a piece of equipment that Whitebeard gave each of their captains. But this is only one time, and can only be re-recorded once it is used up, but this is not difficult for Whitebeard. After listening, Sabo admired Whitebeard even more. Even the recorded sound waves can show such a powerful force. If this is all the power, Sabo can't imagine how far it can reach. It really is the One Piece, this sea will belong to him sooner or later. Sabo sighed. At this time Marco couldn't help but said, Daddy's ambition is more than the sea. Sabo's eyes moved slightly. Marco's words seemed to imply something. Could it be that he also had a similar purpose to the Revolutionary Army? However, Sabo didn't ask too much. After all, these things are still more sensitive. Thank you this time, and thank Whitebeard for me. We will leave first. Zero seeking flowers, Zero. After thanking him, Sabo took Koala back to the headquarters of the Revolutionary Army and explained all the situation to Long. Blackbeard, interesting, I'm afraid this guy will end up badly. After listening to what they said, the dragon was also full of sympathy for this Blackbeard, but it was a mocking sympathy. Boss, thanks to the Whitebeard pirates who came to rescue me this time, otherwise I will be in danger. They seem to deal with the Blackbeard pirates soon. Sabo continued. Well, one less Blackbeard pirate group is definitely a good thing for the whole world. Long agreed with this too. You know, just the things Dragon heard about the Blackbeard pirates, they think they are a group of people who do no evil. Zero. Advertisement. And even if you don't look at what they are doing, this is a group of criminals released from the 5th level and above of Impel Down. And this time, their Revolutionary Army may have offended the Blackbeard pirates, so if Whitebeard dealt with the Blackbeard pirates sooner. So it is naturally a good thing for the Revolutionary Army, they are very happy that this happened. On the other hand, Marco was also very happy about this trip, because he had heard of Blackbeard's actions before. Whitebeard is going to check it out in person, but as the head of the 4 emperors, the captain of the entire pirate group, and the One Piece King. If Whitebeard came in person, it would be too serious, and it would be too much for the Blackbeard pirates. Therefore, Marco urged Whitebeard to let him check it out. Of course, Marco obviously wanted to take this opportunity to relax secretly. To be honest, under that kind of training, no one will be overwhelmed. Therefore, Marco just took advantage of this opportunity to come out to be cool. However, Marco did not dare to waste time, and immediately returned to sail after finishing the work. After returning to the Whitebeard pirates, Marco told Whitebeard about the passage. Gum ha ha ha, want to go to the United Revolutionary Army, what does this guy think? Whitebeard also laughed. Although knowing that Blackbeard was constantly looking for allies during this time, Whitebeard did not expect that he would target the Revolutionary Army. This is really puzzling. And Chapter 227. The Goal of the Revolutionary Army. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. You must know that as a force that wants to overthrow the world government, the leader of the Revolutionary Army has no interest in the pirates, small gangsters. And as such a vicious fellow like Blackbeard, it is naturally impossible to get a union. Haha, probably because you are hungry. Marco also followed with a smile. But that Revolutionary Army is really mysterious. It exists all over the world, but it can always hide its traces. Jose said. Yes, I don't even know what other names are in it except for the leader dragon. Beasta also sighed. But what I met this time was the second in command of the Revolutionary Army, the chief of the general staff, Sabo. This person raised his hands with an elegant temperament. Marco said. Well, in short, the Revolutionary Army is very powerful and can cooperate with it in the future, but for now, we must first kill the Blackbeard, 936. Since Whitebeard's resurrection, he has always had this idea, but this matter has been delayed. Of course, there are other things that have an impact. But this time Blackbeard's message appeared again, which also ignited Whitebeard's desire to eliminate. Whitebeard looked around his captain and said, I can deal with Blackbeard, can you deal with Blackbeard's crew? Father, rest assured, we have made a lot of progress now, and with so many captains, can we still deal with a few of their crew members? Marco and others immediately showed strong confidence. However, Whitebeard frowned and said solemnly, it's not just to deal with them, but to knock them down at the least cost. Yes, advertisement. Whitebeard nodded, but although these people promised this, Whitebeard naturally wanted to be more cautious. Well, if this is the case, I will give you a special training tomorrow. Those who pass the special training will join me to fight against the Blackbeard pirates. Whitebeard said. The crusade against the Blackbeard pirates is a major event, and you can crusade against others, and others can crusade against you. Therefore, you have to defend your own territory during the crusade. Of course, even though Whitebeard still has 50 pirate groups under its banner, Whitebeard can gather them to guard their homes. But it is also necessary to leave some captains on his side. Therefore, Whitebeard is going to use tomorrow's special training to determine who should be left. As a result, the captains of Whitebeard were very excited and looked forward to Whitebeard's special training. Everyone is holding their own determination. After all, crusade against Blackbeard is such a big event. As a member of the Whitebeard pirate group, who doesn't want to participate in person? No one wanted to stay here to guard their homes. Therefore, the first night, everyone worked hard and waited for the next day's special training. Marco, what kind of special training do you think Dad will do tomorrow? Will the four of us also be left behind? In the evening, Yaluo brother and the others started chatting. I don't know about this, but I think if you are dragging your feet, Dad should leave you behind, otherwise it would be a shame to take it out. Marco said lightly. How can it be delayed? I can now use armed color and seeing and hearing color proficiently. Eroge said confidently. It's just a skillful use, it's great if you are strong. Jose couldn't help pouring a pot of cold water on Eroge. HMPH, when do you want to make a gesture? I see if you can hit me. Eroge immediately retorted. Jose smiled, showing a confident smile. Advertisement. Haha, you wouldn't think I was the same Jose from the past, do you think I will suffer if you underestimate me? Seeing how lively they talked, Beasta couldn't help but join. Wow, you all feel that you have changed a lot. It seems that only my progress has been relatively small. Beasta said. Beasta, don't be presumptuous, I have seen your strength. Marco immediately comforted. Marco has seen Beasta's training when he improves his swordsmanship. Compared with before, his swordsmanship is now more complicated and fierce. In the past, Beasta focused on offense, but under the guidance of Whitebeard, Beasta can now be regarded as an offensive and defensive one, and the attack method is not as monotonous as before. Haha, Beasta, when you say this, don't you want to relax us? Brother Yaluo joked. Okay, everyone should go to bed quickly, and be prepared to face tomorrow's special training with sufficient energy. Marco said. Soon, on the second day, Whitebeard gathered all the captains together. Whitebeard has a total of 18 captains, of which Marco, Jose, Beasta, and Arogo have been singled out. Special training for the four of you will be arranged separately, and now we will conduct their special training first. Whitebeard said. Marco and the others looked at each other, and immediately stood aside watching Whitebeard's arrangement. For the remaining 14 captains, Whitebeard asked them to draw lots and then draw the same opponents for a duel. Of course, the outcome of the duel is not a condition for Whitebeard to judge. What Whitebeard values is the effectiveness of each of them. For example, according to normal circumstances, if there is a confrontation, Marco can quickly resolve the remaining captains, but if these captains show a reasonable and decisive attack or defense against Marco. Advertisement. Then this situation will also be appreciated by Whitebeard. To put it simply, a person's normal strength is very good, so the actual combat strength shown needs to exceed this value. This seems to be a normal situation, but not everyone can do it. Because facing different opponents, some people's combat thinking will be limited, thus limiting their own strength. As a result, the remaining captains quickly began to draw lots and then to a duel. Battle after battle passed, and Whitebeard was watching every battle. Through these battles, Whitebeard also learned a lot of his captain's combat shortcomings. 5.0 Some of them are suitable for fighting alone, but the fighting style is not suitable for facing group battles. This is a difference in combat thinking. The reason why Whitebeard singled out Marco and the other 4 was naturally because their strength was too strong. Therefore, the 4 of them can only digest internally. After all the captains' battles were over, Whitebeard began to arrange special training for Marco and others. Marco, you are playing against Jose. Bista, you are playing against Arogo. Whitebeard said to them. One by one. First, Marco played against Jose. When Whitebeard finished speaking, Marco and Jose stood up immediately, and the surrounding crew made room for them one after another. Marco's shortcomings are attacking, and Jose's flexibility in facing Marco is equally tricky, so Whitebeard deliberately let them temper each other. Chapter 228. Marco vs. Jose. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Marco and Jose stood opposite each other, and both sides began to prepare. Jose, I didn't expect my opponent to be you. Daddy really has a hand. Marco faced Jose with a hint of excitement. He is very aware of his strengths and weaknesses, and he is also very satisfied with his father's arrangement. More importantly, he has never played well with Jose. Now, it is time to test your own results and see how effective your previous training is. And Jose was also very excited. He felt that among the 4 of them, Marco was probably the most difficult one for him. HMPH, Marco, it's not that easy to defeat me. Today, let you see how good I am. Jose also let out cruel words. Haha, you are quite motivated, but that's okay, only in this way will it be more exciting. Marco laughed. As the battle began, Alk immediately turned into a state of phoenix, with blue flames all over his body. And Jose did not neglect at all, and immediately covered the diamonds all over his body, and then, Jose rushed towards 01 Marco. The whole body is full of hard diamonds. With Jose's strength, this impact is definitely very scary. But Marco made a slight leap, and his figure floated into the sky. Jose was not surprised either. This was all in his expectation. Fighting him, Marco will surely fly into the sky. But after Marco flew into the sky, it was very difficult to defeat Jose. So Jose is not in a hurry, he is not worried that Marco will not attack him at all. And as long as he fights back at that time, he can cause damage to Marco. Advertisement. Things were exactly what Jose had expected. After hovering in the sky for a while, Marco swooped down. The cyan flame rubbed sparks in the air because of the huge velocity impact. The cyan flame burned more violently, and Jose was not afraid of it. He faced Marco's direction and even took the initiative to meet him. Although Mal used his speed and gravity, it was a disadvantage for some Jose. And Jose can completely avoid this blow, but he understands that if he avoids it, he will lose a chance. And if you can resist Marco's attack, you can take the opportunity to fight back. The diamonds all over the body are instantly covered with a layer of pitch black. Armament hockey makes the originally hard diamonds even stronger. Marco was already rushing down like a flaming meteor, while Jose crossed his hands in front of him. Soon, Marco collided with Jose. Boom. There was a deafening rumbling for an instant, and then the ground was shaken. Facing the fluctuation of their offensive, Whitebeard's eyes flickered, and he raised his hand to form a shock barrier on the ground. Because of the effect of the shock barrier, their aftermath did not spread, otherwise the surrounding ground would collapse. It seems that your defensive formation is not so easy to break. Marco also sighed slightly. HMPH, the good show is yet to come. Jose couldn't help but sneer. Then he grabbed Marco at a very fast speed, and he saw Jose grabbing Marco's foot, and then slammed it hard. Advertisement. Marco was flung out, and then Jose rushed out, his huge fist thrust forward heavily. Marco stabilized his figure in time, but was still sturdily hit by Jose. That heavy punch contained tremendous power, directly piercing Marco's flame body. Fortunately, Marco's cyan flame will be automatically repaired, and it will be restored not long after Marco flies into the sky. Well, you know how good I am. Jose said very proudly. Although it seems simple, it shows his grasp of the timing of the battle. It's something, but don't be happy too early. Marco said lightly. Although it was not a serious injury from Jaws' punch, he was always at a disadvantage this round. Therefore, Marco also began to be more cautious, facing opponents like Joe's. If he has been hit by him, it is definitely a loss. I saw Marco swooping down on Joe's again this time. Joe suddenly smiled. Come on, it seems you haven't eaten enough to hurt you. This time Joe's was prepared to use greater force to cause damage to Marco. Even if it was Phoenix, the damage he could withstand was limited. Joe's didn't believe that Marco could keep going under his attack of this intensity. Therefore, Joe's was well prepared, but when he was surprised, Marco suddenly changed direction when he dived into the air. Marco walked around behind Joe's, and then directly concentrated the Phoenix flames all over his fist. Look at my new move, I also named it specially. Marco's fists were surrounded by a cyan flame just enough to envelop his fists, and he was seen punching Joe's out of the air. Advertisement. The cyan flame on the fist was released by Marco like an air wave, and the speed was extremely fast. Indestructible Yan Fist. The two flames hit Jaws' back at the speed of bullets, causing huge damage in an instant. Moreover, not only the 930 instantaneous damage, after Joe's reacted, he still suffered continuous damage from the cyan flame. The original Phoenix flame is not an ordinary burning flame, but can have a recovery effect. But under the guidance of Whitebeard, Marco successfully used the cyan flame to launch a long-range attack, and made it with a burning effect. However, this burning effect still belongs to the recovery effect of the fruit, because the cyan flame will still exist for a long time after it is emitted. If this kind of cyan flame exists in people outside the ability of the Eudemon's fruit, it will receive a repelling effect, and it will be matched with Marco's original moves. It can make the victim suffer a continuous damage effect. Marco simply calls it a burning effect. This kid, he used it quite well. After Whitebeard saw it, his eyes were also full of admiration. Originally Whitebeard thought it would take at least 1 month for Marco to master and use it. But he did exceed his expectations. Although there is still a lot of room for improvement in use, he has performed very well. Facing this kind of continuous injury, even Joe's felt a little pain, and it couldn't stop it. Even if the cyan flame is extinguished by Joe's with hockey, there will still be a trace of flame. Although it is not enough to defeat Joe's with this trick, it is enough to make Joe's a headache. Chapter 229. Captain Whitebeard's Strength. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Well, as long as you are hit, even hockey can't isolate the subsequent damage. Marco said to Joe's happily. He is extremely satisfied with his move, which is all his hard work all the time. During this time, although every time he went to bed at night, Marco let them go to bed earlier like a parent. But in fact, he pretended to sleep, but he was still simulating actual combat training in his mind. Don't underestimate Marco's simulations and thoughts in his mind every night, which helped him greatly. Actual combat is always greater than thinking. This situation varies from person to person. Moreover, if both actual combat and thinking are carried out, the effect of thinking can be beyond imagination. Marco used the simulation in his mind to speculate step by step the state and effect of his real use of this trick. Only by combining the training during the day to make up for the shortcomings can we make progress by leaps and bounds. Damn, that's great. Captain Marco is strong. Now the team leader's strength has improved again. The crew members who watched the battle began to cheer, and even Eroge and Bista were shocked. I didn't expect this guy to hide such a hand, I really can't see it normally. Brother Arrow said blankly. He didn't dare to imagine what the effect would be if he had been hit by Marco's move. His defense could not be compared to Joe's. That may be directly ended by Marco's move, even if it is not immediately defeated, it will definitely affect the ability to act. Advertisement. And Marco just needs to attack a few times and he will be over, so at this time Eroge thought in his heart that he was not Marco's opponent. Bista was also shocked, but he didn't have such a big gap, because he always felt that he was inferior to Marco, but not now. The battle is still going on. Joe's has not been completely defeated, but also because of Marco's hand was completely aroused fighting spirit. Therefore, in the next battle, Joe's and Marco can be described as getting stronger, and neither of them wants to lose in this battle. The outbreak battle has gradually developed into a protracted battle, but the two of them are people who have undergone heavy training, so they will not be able to tell the victory or defeat for a while. These two guys seem to be working hard. Marco is still half a level behind and can reach Admiral's level. Whitebeard looked very satisfied while watching. Although the current situation is similar, Whitebeard is still more optimistic about Marco, because Joe's, who has a strong defensive attribute, can also pull to the horizon when facing a stronger enemy than himself. Marco's overall strength is obviously more balanced and outstanding, and Whitebeard is already satisfied with the current situation. In fact, at this time Whitebeard can call to stop and let them end the game, but Whitebeard is also curious about how far they can develop in the end. Whitebeard wanted to see if there were any amazing moves between them, and the off-field Bista and Arogo didn't care about the outcome of the game. Whether it was Marco or Joe's won, they both showed excellent fighting ability and brought a wonderful game. In the next game, it was Alorge and Bista. Both of them were thinking about their strategies in the future battle. It is said to be a good start, but now Marco and Jaws' game is Jade, while the game between Alorgo and Bista is a brick. They played so well and brought a wonderful game with Jules in front, which made Aroge and Bista feel very pressured. After that, because they fought for too long, Whitebeard didn't want to drag on, so he pronounced them a tie. Advertisement. In the end, Marco and Joe still had no winners or losers, but the audience knew them all. Everyone can see that in this battle, Joe suffered more injuries, and he was able to sustain it entirely because of Jaws' fruit ability. Of course, fruit ability is also part of Jaws' strength, and a tie is also reasonable. You two should take a good rest. You did a good job this time. Whitebeard praised both of them. No, I want to see the next battle. Me too. Both Marco and Kabuto Joe said that it was not a big deal, and they wanted to see the battle between Alorge and Bista. I saw the two people slowly walked up, and both of them were a little bit ambitious at this time. Please don't be merciful later. Arogo Bista said. It's the same with you. Vista also replied. Speaking of which, the match between Bista and Arogo is also very clever. Aroge Windwind fruit is very flexible, and Bista's swordsmanship plus observation hockey is also very flexible. It's not easy for them to attack each other, but generally speaking, they will suffer a little bit more than Star. Before the battle started, Marco began to analyze. Advertisement. Yes, but Alorge's attack is not as fierce as Star. I think this game can be a test for both of them. Joe's also said. Although they had just gone through a fierce battle, the two of them were watching the game together seriously. Soon the battle began, and Aroge first launched an attack, only to see that he was only sending out a small whirlwind, like a shock wave. It seems that J-Arrow wants to test Bista, but it is clear that this attack has no effect. Bista swiped the knife twice, and slashed these little whirlwinds away. Afterwards, Bista also took the initiative to attack, but still only slashed out his sword aura, using the sword aura to attack Aroge. Aroge spun around like a spinning top, and soon formed a tornado, which not only swallowed Bista's sword energy, but also quickly moved towards Bista. Although it was just a small tornado, Nuohao showed great attraction. The crew watching around would be unconsciously dragged by the air pressure, and they began to retreat one after another. The offensive and defensive moves of Arogoth are integrated. Even if they are attacked by the outside, they will also resolve the attack because of the huge airflow. Moreover, once involved, the enemy would suffer a lot of damage, so Bista did not approach easily, and kept dodge, keeping a distance from Arogo. Don't keep running. Brother Yaluo couldn't help but said stock. Bista was in a stable state of mind. He didn't take Aroge's radical action seriously, and he was still evasive. Although Alorge's trick is more difficult to deal with, but for so long, Bista has also studied it, and any trick has its shortcomings. The shortcoming of Aroger's trick is that it is difficult to sustain, because it consumes a lot of money. As long as you drag it all the time, Aragorn will consume a lot of physical strength first. Chapter 230. Crusade against Blackbeard. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. He hadn't attacked Bista, and Aroge was also a little frustrated. Damn it, why are you running away all the time? It's not so good. Arogo suddenly shouted. You can attack me if you have the ability. Bista also laughed and mocked. J-Arrow originally thought about going to Vista, but unexpectedly he was angry with Vista. After weighing, Aroge stopped his tornado attack immediately. As the owner of Fengfang fruit, Yaluo also knows his own characteristics very well. Although this attack is powerful, but the cost is not small. If it continues like this, then I am afraid that Bista won without a fight. HMPH, when I am going to awaken the fruit later, it won't stop at this level. Brother Yaluo said bitterly in his heart. His fruit ability is not yet fully developed, but according to Whitebeard's conjecture, once he awakens, his unfolded tornado attack range is very huge, and he cannot dodge it at that time. But this is the future outlook after all, and the top priority is to find a way to deal with Bista. Although a little helpless, Yaluo gradually calmed down. This guy actually stabilized. Bista was a little strange. According to Yaluo's usual character, after he was so excited just now, he would definitely become irritated. Even if 930 could bear it, it would be a bit agitated, but after a while, Brother Arrow had calmed down. What Bista didn't know was that before that, Whitebeard had specially trained Arag on this point. Advertisement. At this moment Whitebeard nodded slightly, somewhat satisfied with Aroge. After Arogoth stabilized, he began close combat with Bista. The two attacked and defended each other. Among them, Bista showed superb swordsmanship. His sword aura can be stacked in a crisscross pattern, forming a variety of moves and powers, which makes it a little tricky for Arrow to deal with it. In addition, Arrow GE's swift and windy movements and strong air currents also made Beasta unable to relax at all times, and it was difficult for him to really hurt him. It can be said that there is no difference between the two of them. At first, everyone thought they would be a tie like the previous one. However, as Beasta made a move, the double cross-cut, the two sword chis formed a cross-cut, and the two cross-cuts were superimposed on each other, almost simultaneously. Immediately afterwards, Beasta's figure also disappeared in place, appearing behind Arrow J as a ghost. Fighting back and forth, right? You look down on me too much. Alij Abfa was slightly disdainful in his heart. Beasta's move was to use the double cross-cut in the front to contain Arrow J, and then attacked from the back by himself. However, he was noticed by Brother Yaluo at the beginning, and he immediately spread his hands horizontally to face the front and the back in two directions. Two solid air walls are formed instantly, and they are continuously delivered with strong air pressure for maintenance. Beasta's moves were blocked, and he himself was blocked by the air wall. Just as Aroj smiled, Beasta's figure suddenly disappeared. This is afterimages. Marco outside the field was immediately surprised, because he was a bystander, so he could see clearly that Beasta didn't even want to attack from behind Alorge. In other words, it just walked around behind him. The figure left behind was actually an afterimage. It's just that the afterimage of that moment convinced Arrow to be true. In fact, Beasta had already come to Arrow's side. Advertisement. What? It turned out to be an afterimage. At this time, Arroyo reacted, but he saw that Beasta's knife had already stabled at him. Oops. J. Arrow secretly yelled badly. He had no time to think. His body rotated almost autonomously, and wanted to use the rotating air current to bounce off the attack that must have loved him. However, the instant slash facing Beasta was still too slow. When Arrow J just started his hand, his figure had already penetrated the past with the light of the sword. But because Beasta didn't use hockey, and Arugo was also Logia fruit, he didn't suffer any injuries. But in this game, it was obvious that Beasta won. Whitebeard smiled and stood up and announced, Beasta won and did a good job. In this game, Beasta gave full play to his strength and brains, and only then did he defeat Arugo, who was difficult to deal with. Damn it, I actually lost, it's a failure. At this time, J. Arrow was very regretful, because he had no reason to lose at all, just because he was careless. If you can be cautious, it is impossible not to discover that it is the afterimage of Beasta. Therefore, J. Arrow thumped his chest in regret. At this time, Beasta walked over to comfort him and said, okay, let's do it next time. HMPH, I will definitely beat you next time. Brother Yaluo made up his mind. Okay, I also look forward to this day. Beasta smiled. Whitebeard was very satisfied with today's game, but in the end he selected 8 captains to arrange the task of guarding the home. Advertisement. After the arrangement, Whitebeard dispersed the 8 captains out, and at the same time began to gather the pirate groups under his own. There are a total of 50 pirate groups under the Whitebeard pirate group, but Whitebeard doesn't want to bring too many on this trip, mainly for the sake of being strong. But to really deal with Blackbeard, then the captain on his ship is sure to be the main force. Therefore, Whitebeard only called for 10 pirate groups to come and gather, and the other pirate groups helped guard the site. However, it takes a lot of time to arrange these things, after all, the sea is so big. Whitebeard didn't want his family to be stolen when he was dealing with Blackbeard, which would be bad. On the other hand, since the last time Badgers and Shiryu of Rain went back and reported the news to Blackbeard, the Blackbeard pirates had become extremely cautious. Blackbeard gave up the idea of a united revolutionary army, but, using coercive means, he did collect a lot of supernova pirate groups. Moreover, now Blackbeard pays special attention to the Whitebeard pirates. It can be said that every move is kept in mind. This is because after the description of Badgers and Shiryu of Rain last time, that Whitebeard is already a man called a god. Faced with such a powerful force, Blackbeard didn't want to become the first 4 emperors to be eliminated. Captain, there is news. The subordinates have just reported that the Whitebeard pirate group has recently convened the captain of the pirate group, and it seems that they are ready to deal with us. After receiving the news, Badges immediately reported to Blackbeard that Blackbeard turned pale after hearing it. What, so soon, is he ready to do it to me? Blackbeard said nervously. It seems to be true. I heard that Whitebeard also took some protective measures for his own territory. Shiryu of Rain also said. Chapter 231, Blackbeard's Fear. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Damn it, those 4 emperors who don't have a helping hand, don't they know that once I fall, their ability to unite in the future will be reduced? In the face of the coming crisis, Blackbeard was also deeply angry besides fear. He felt that the 4 emperors did not understand the truth of the interdependence of lips and teeth. The current Whitebeard is no longer the old man without any fighting spirit, he is the One Piece. Blackbeard hates those 4 emperors who can't see through this truth. Captain, what should we do now? Whitebeard's strength is too strong, and it is unfathomable. Badges has already begun to anticipate the tragic scene afterwards. Yes, the situation is too tense now. We definitely don't have the power to fight the Whitebeard pirates. Shiryu of Rain is also very solemn. In the face of Whitebeard's power, no matter who it is, I am afraid that there is no confidence, even the so-called cruel warden. When he met Whitebeard, he had nothing but fighting spirit. Is there any possibility of seeking peace? Badgers asked. Impossible, but we claim to dominate the world, how can we bow our heads? Blackbeard immediately objected. Even if it's asking for peace, Whitebeard won't accept it, it's meaningless. Yuji Shiryu also retorted. Then now, Blackbeard thought about it for a while, and felt that he should preserve his strength first. Only when he is strong enough is the time to deal with Whitebeard. Patience is nothing. Blackbeard had been on the Whitebeard ship Jonin for so many years. Abandon all the current turf and leave New World. Blackbeard said slowly. Everyone looked at Blackbeard, and didn't expect him to propose this method, because it didn't fit Blackbeard's character. Advertisement. Everyone thinks that Blackbeard is an ambitious and very smart person. But no one knew that Blackbeard could have been lurking on Whitebeard's ship in order to wait for dark fruit. Even if you can't find dark fruit, plan to stay on Whitebeard's ship for a lifetime. Blackbeard is such a figure who can keep a low profile, and is a full-fledged ambition conspirator. Abandoning the status of the four emperors and giving up everything is not just a matter of words. To do this, it also requires a lot of determination. After all, Blackbeard has paid a lot from defeating Ace, to Impel Down, to the war on the top, until now, to develop into four emperors. However, Whitebeard's sharpness is too strong, like the aurora, which makes it impossible to look directly at it. In order to avoid his edge, Blackbeard had to give up these, otherwise, he knew that he might pay the price of his life. Blackbeard looked at everyone, and they all agreed. It's really my crew, trust me, we can recreate brilliance in the future. Blackbeard said with some emotion. After the plan was decided, Blackbeard began his escape plan, and now that he has decided not to confront Whitebeard. The supernovae that had been forcibly captured before were all imprisoned by Blackbeard, and he himself just led one of his ships away. Of course, all the important crew members of Blackbeard are on board, including some elite ordinary pirate team, about 50 people. This number is what Blackbeard thinks is the most reasonable number. You don't need too many people to flee, because that would be easy to find. If it's a few ships, it will definitely be noticed, because the ordinary pirate group only has one ship. A few ships are already quite large, so the crowd will only be counterproductive. Advertisement. But you must also bring people. After all, you may encounter some other pirate groups or encounter other conflicts in the escape. Therefore, I will still ensure that there are enough troops on my side, and these 50 people are all carefully selected by Blackbeard. All of them are pirates offering rewards from Marine. Although the price is not high, all are under 10 million, but they are at least better than ordinary Xiaoyao. The Blackbeard pirates were preparing to leave New World silently, but they did not expect that their whereabouts were still discovered. After all, it was four emperors. Even though Blackbeard had been very cautious, he still leaked the news. The news was known by the red hair, who liked to sail freely on the sea. Ever since Whitebeard's reputation became known, the red hair began to like to wander around the four emperors and other forces. Therefore, the red hair has also learned a lot of news, and the last time Blackbeard's actions were also revealed to Whitebeard by the red hair. 0 seeking flowers, 0. And this time, the red hair intends to give a favor to Whitebeard. Barabala. The phone worm on the Whitebeard's ship rang. Who is it? Marco asked immediately after answering the phone. I'm Shanks, I want an important message from Whitebeard. A red-haired voice came across. What's the news? Marco asked immediately. Redhead didn't answer right away, but said, since it's important news, of course I have to talk to Whitebeard in person. Okay, wait a minute. Marco immediately handed the call to Whitebeard. Father, Shanks said there is important news. Advertisement. Ha ha ha. Shanks, what's the important news this time? Whitebeard answered the phone with a bold laugh. Point 0. Whitebeard, last time I helped you train your captain, and then I told you about Blackbeard's actions. You owe me 2 favors. Shanks first said with a smile, without saying it directly. Well, I know, if you need anything in the future, I will definitely return this favor to you. Whitebeard said impatiently. Well, I believe you, I'll tell you, but first ask you a question, are you going to deal with Blackbeard recently? Shanks said. Yes, what's the matter? Blackbeard should know that you are going to deal with it. He has already started to flee. Upon hearing this, Whitebeard was furious. What? Want to run? Where did he go? Whitebeard asked angrily. I don't know the specifics. I can only point you to one direction, and the rest is up to you. But it may take a lot of time to hunt down Blackbeard. Shanks added, wanting to imply that Whitebeard should not pursue Blackbeard for the time being. Okay, I see, you don't have to worry about it, I'll arrange it freely. Whitebeard got Blackbeard's escape direction and hung up. Of course he knew what Shanks meant, but the traitor of this pirate group, Whitebeard, must be cleaned up. If Blackbeard escapes, then I don't know how long it will take Blackbeard to breathe. He doesn't allow this kind of thing. End. Chapter 232, Hunting for Blackbeard. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. On the sea, the breeze was blowing, seagulls were constantly flying by in the sky, and they were often hovering over the ship, and there were some chirping sounds. The sun is so beautiful, it looks so peaceful, but at this time on the boat, the atmosphere is extremely lively and solemn. My sons, we are going to conquer that traitor, Blackbeard, are you all ready? Whitebeard stood on the bow, facing his many crew members, and said loudly. All the crew members also showed Ling Ran's intentions, shouting one after another to express their opinions. Ready anytime. Okay, yes, the traitor, Blackbeard, I know you hate him too, but it doesn't matter, he will be killed by me soon. After speaking, Whitebeard also showed a bold laugh. In the face of the upcoming war, everyone is excited and nervous. It may be unforgettable for them to be able to participate in this kind of 930 level battle. So they will be excited, and at the same time, there will definitely be casualties in such a big scene, and the casualties may still be large. Therefore, everyone will also be worried and nervous. However, they all have the same point, which will not change. That is, they all believe in Daddy Whitebeard. For them, Daddy Whitebeard is invincible. Father, I can't wait to beat the Blackbeard pirates madly. Arogo eagerly slapped his hands. Yes, I heard that there are many capable people on the Blackbeard ship. I really want to see what they have. Joe said eagerly. Anyway, when we decided to attack the Blackbeard pirates, they were doomed to destruction, and now, I only hope that the Blackbeard pirates can bring us a little bit of joy. Marco couldn't help himself. Guhahaha, it is worthy of being my captains. It seems that your will is very firm, so I don't have to worry about anything. Advertisement. Whitebeard immediately issued an order to hunt down the Blackbeard pirate group. All members in the 4 pirate boats moved in the direction of the previous red-haired report. At the same time, because of Blackbeard's temporary runaway, Whitebeard's previous plan to summon the pirate group to attack was also shelved. But Whitebeard didn't care, instead he directly ordered the pirate regiments to attack Blackbeard's territory. Anyway, Blackbeard's main force is no longer there, and it is easy to deal with. And since it was running away, Blackbeard couldn't bring too many people. Whitebeard felt that his 4 pirate boats were more than enough. However, during this period, the situation was very tense, and the phone worms on the 4 Whitebeard ships kept ringing. Hey, Whitebeard, where are you now? Are you already on your way to hunt Blackbeard? The first is the red-haired phone. Yes, Shanks. Then I have to tell you, Blackbeard and the others are fast fleeing, I think you may not be able to catch up. Red Hair said. Whitebeard's eyes narrowed slightly, and he was silent for a while before saying, you are telling me the direction of Blackbeard's escape. I'll be sure. Good. The red hair told Whitebeard about Blackbeard's trajectory. Of course, the red hair only gave a rough idea, and the route was not very precise. But knowing is better than not knowing, because when Whitebeard knew, Blackbeard had been on the run for a while. Therefore, according to the current speed and distance, but also considering the problem of taking the wrong route, Whitebeard is unlikely to find Blackbeard. But during this time, Whitebeard will not be able to return to his territory for a long time. The red hair is also worried that the departure of Whitebeard will attract the coveting of the tiger wolf, and the tiger wolf refers to Kaido and the ant. Advertisement. Because Redhead has already discovered that the ant has acted, her plan seems to be to attack an area under the name of Whitebeard. So, I hope you don't keep chasing. After stating his interests, the red hair directly expressed his thoughts. Over the years, Hongfa has been committed to the balance of the sea, whether it is between pirates, or between pirates and marine. Red hair has always hoped to maintain a delicate balance, and only balance will not trigger a large-scale war. But once this balance is broken, the next step may be as if the fuse was ignited, and a chain reaction would begin. But after hearing what Shanks said, Whitebeard still did not change his mind, he still decided to hunt down Blackbeard. Shanks, I understand what you mean, but don't worry about this. I have 0 in my heart. After speaking, Whitebeard hung up again. What the hell does this guy think? On the other end of the phone, the red hair was holding the hung up phone and it was unknown. In addition to the red-haired phone, there are other phones. But almost all of the phones that were attacked were all Whitebeard's sites. The people who shot were Kaido and the ant pirates, but they didn't occupy it, they just made some harassment and testing. It looks like mosquitoes are constantly buzzing around. It is difficult to solve it immediately, but they will continue to bother you. Marco, immediately notify the pirate group under it to guard various areas. Tell everyone, as long as I persist for a while, I will kill Blackbeard and come back soon. Whitebeard immediately ordered. Advertisement. Yes. Marco immediately sent someone to execute. But, Daddy, the Blackbeard pirates, can we still catch up now? Marco also had some doubts. Bring the map and let me take a look, Whitebeard said. Whitebeard looked at the map and found that there was a shortcut on Blackbeard's escape trajectory. If this shortcut is taken, it should be quick to catch up with the Blackbeard pirates. Blackbeard is absolutely unable to leave New World, and will be intercepted by them for 5.0 before then. Guck ha ha ha. Marco, did you see that? We can take a shortcut. Whitebeard smiled and said to Marco. Shortcut. Marco immediately looked at the map seriously, but after looking at it for a long time he didn't find what the shortcut Whitebeard was talking about. Father, why can't I find the shortcut you said? Marco asked. Then can you find out? Whitebeard asked Joes and others again. Well, I don't know. The others also showed doubts, and Whitebeard couldn't help sighing slightly. It's here. Whitebeard pointed his finger at an island on the map. The location of this island is a bit special. Although the area is not very large, as long as the ship passes here, it has to go around. Chapter 233. Blackbeard hiding in the east. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. This island is called Iron Island, because most of the material on the island is rock. The composition of the rock occupies most of it, and its hardness is comparable to magmatic rock, hence the name Iron Island. It means very strong, and because most of the island is rocky, it lacks some other natural materials. The island is not inhabited by humans, and there are even few animals. Basically, they are small, highly viable creatures. There are many hidden reefs around the Iron Island. Therefore, the Iron Island is not large in size, but it is still a big circle if you want to go around. After listening to the shortcut mentioned by Whitebeard, everyone was still confused, and after a while, Joe suddenly realized it and said, I see, the old man meant that we will go to the island directly, and then start from the other side of the island, so that we don't have to go around in circles, and walking in a straight line can save a lot of time. Marco, Bista, Arogo and others immediately looked at Joe's like a fool. You guys, why are you looking at me like this? What did I say wrong? 01. Joe's hasn't found his problem yet. Then I ask you, how do I get down on the other side of the island? Marco asked. Are you stupid? We are going to the island, and the boat is going around. Brother Yaluo cursed. Those who don't know thought the ship could fly over. Vista also said. The trio's mocking tone made Joe suddenly ashamed, and he immediately changed the subject. Father, what on earth do you want to do? Joe's asked. If you blow up this island, won't you be able to pass straight through? Whitebeard said. Exploded. Marco and the others were surprised at once. What a feat it was to blow up an island, but when I thought about it, it didn't seem to be a big deal. Advertisement. After all, this island is not very big, it is completely easy with Whitebeard's strength. It's just that no one thought of this method beforehand, because it still requires a lot of momentum to propose this method. If the island is really blown up, then we can indeed save a lot of time. Marco immediately calculated the route. He found that if you cross the island directly, you can save more than double the time. As a result, the Whitebeard pirate group immediately changed some directions and headed toward the Iron Island. The speed of the Whitebeard pirates was very fast, and they immediately saw a rocky island ahead. Father, the Iron Island is here, Marco said. Whitebeard immediately stood up, did not go to the bow, facing the island in front, decisively raised his broadsword and swung a fierce sword aura. The huge sword energy slashed through the air, cutting away like a gust of wind and lightning. The moment Jian Qi touched the island, it cut a sharp mark from it. Sword Qi passed by, and Iron Island was instantly divided into two, and the cut surface in the middle was very neat. However, although it is divided into two, the gap in the middle is not enough for the ship to pass through. Next, Whitebeard punched out with 2 punches, hitting the air out of thin air, sending out 2 strong shocks. This turbulence immediately spread out, and immediately stirred up waves on the sea, shaking the 2 islands at the same time. Under the gaze of Marco and others, the 2 islands actually moved slowly. Under the shock of Whitebeard and the impact of the current, the 2 islands gradually separated. There was a big sea road in the middle, and Whitebeard immediately ordered, "Go." Advertisement. In this way, 4 ships of the Whitebeard pirate group passed through it one after another. Now, there will be 2 Iron Islands in the future. Marco said jokingly. Daddy is really a killer, and the island blocks the island. Brother Yaluo also joked. You will have this spirit in the future, Whitebeard said to them. Yes, Daddy. Marco and others looked at each other and replied in unison. Yeah, Whitebeard nodded. In the following time, the Whitebeard pirates chased the Blackbeard pirates with all their strength. However, the Blackbeard pirates did not know that they were being chased by the Whitebeard pirates. Blackbeard had no idea that Whitebeard would chase him so quickly. Captain, there is a step island in front of you, do you want to rest here? Badgers asked. Well, just take a break there, but don't waste too much time. Blackbeard said. The pirate group sails on the sea all day, so when they encounter a small island, they usually go to the island to add material or something. The Steppe Island is a small inhabited island, and it has formed a certain scale with a small kingdom on it. Of course, the so-called kingdom is not a real kingdom, and there is no king, just as more and more people live on the island. Some organized and powerful groups gradually formed their own ruling power, without legislation, but with some rules they made. The rule is, on this island, as long as who has the strongest power, then he can enjoy the throne of the kingly way. Kingly way will be worshipped by everyone on the island. Advertisement. However, so far, the king's road on the island has been changed many times. After all, this is the new world. Conflicts are common. Today you become the king, and you may be occupied by others tomorrow. However, this advantage is the ability to transfer firepower and transfer all hatred to the kingly way. Therefore, even though there are frequent wars, 930 is a resident of the island but rarely gets injured. Because outsiders will only aim at the king's way on the island, because as long as the king's way is defeated, then the whole island will bow down. They will not miss the past kingly way at all, but will only recognize the new kingly way. This strategy has also allowed the residents on Steppe Island to live in peace. At present, the kingly road on the island is a pirate leader with a bounty of 500 million, named Tesla. The Blackbeard pirates quickly docked the ship at the pier of Steppe Island, but it was hit when it was preparing to go ashore. No outsiders are allowed to enter here, please leave here immediately. Around the pier, there is a team of guards. They raised muskets against the Blackbeard pirates. Unreasonably, I dared to stop us. Blackbeard immediately became impatient and ordered the team to deal with those who got in the way. HMPH, even on the way to escape, you can't be bullied by the dogs. Badges rushed to the guard posts angrily, and defeated them all with great strength. Guys, hurry up and take a break, Blackbeard said to them. So, his crew went ashore one after another, some to collect supplies, some to enjoy it. But Blackbeard and most of his crew did not leave the ship, because Blackbeard didn't want to be too swagger to reveal his tracks. Chapter 234. Blackbeard's solicitation. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. In the center of Steppe Island, there is a very spectacular scene built here, which is a very complete palace complex. Although it doesn't look so magnificent, it gives people a very majestic feeling. The entire palace complex is arranged very neatly. From the top down, the palaces form a huge circle, and at the center of the circle, there is a square. In front of the square, there is a high-rise building with steps, and it is like a cone, becoming smaller as it goes up. Inside the stairway building is the royal road that inhabits the island. Report. Report. An urgent voice suddenly broke into the wide palace, and a guard rushed in and knelt in front of the high throne. What's the matter? I saw a middle-aged man who looked a little young on the throne, his brows were full of heroic spirit. Someone forcibly landed on the island and injured us. The guard said hurriedly. Oh, there is such a thing, how many people are there, do you know what their identity is? The person asked calmly. There are about dozens of people. It is a pirate group. The flag on it is in the shape of 3 skeletons. The guard replied. 3 skeletons. The man thought about it a little, and was suddenly surprised. Could it be the Blackbeard pirates? Advertisement. The Blackbeard pirate group quickly rose up after the Top War and became one of the 4 emperors, and his pirate group is also well known all over the world. That was the pattern of 3 skeletons, and the man solemnly prepared some teams to go. The movement of the Blackbeard pirates on the island was quickly restricted, and everyone was arrested by Tesla. However, Tesla is very clear that the real Blackbeard is still on board, and his main force is also there. Therefore, Tesla immediately sent someone to explain to Blackbeard that pirates are not allowed to land on this island. When Blackbeard heard that his people had been detained, he immediately became angry. The 2 sides clashed quickly, and there were some fruit-powered people on the Steppe Island, but compared with the Blackbeard pirates, there was a lot of difference. But Tesla is not weak, on the contrary, his strength is very strong. Although the bounty is only 500 million, it is relatively low compared to the various high-priced pirates of New World. But this is because although Tesla is strong, he rarely provokes Marine, especially since he came to Steppe Island, he has been living here. Tesla led his guards and the Blackbeard pirates to fight on the seashore. Soon, Tesla's guard team was defeated, and Tesla was the only one who insisted. But after a battle, Blackbeard's eyes on Tesla became serious. Blackbeard couldn't think that his dark fruit would meet the nemesis. Hey, what is your fruit ability? Blackbeard asked with interest. For those who are capable, Blackbeard has always appreciated it, especially at this time, it is a good thing to have a strong crew. Water film fruit, are you the legendary dark fruit? It is said that you seized the shocking power of Whitebeard during the war on top. Do you want to seize my power too? Advertisement. // Tesla said in a condensed voice that he knew that his current situation was severe and his subordinates were already lying down, but Blackbeard's pirate group was safe and sound. Even if those little ones are removed, Tesla needs to face more than a dozen of Blackbeard's main players. Even if his fruit ability restrains Blackbeard's dark fruit, he can't deal with so many people. Water film fruit. Good ability, rare Logia fruit, but also has the potential of Paramesha. For the water film fruit, Blackbeard is also highly praised, especially this Tesla also played well. Whenever Blackbeard uses dark fruit, Tesla will use the fruit power to form a water film around him. It is very transparent and thin, but it can resist the dark power of Blackbeard and can cushion all attacks. It's not as good as your fruit. I have heard about you. I heard that you lurked on Whitebeard's ship for many years in order to get dark fruit. Tesla said lightly, his tone full of disdain. Ha ha ha, if you want to achieve great things, you must learn to be patient. In the end, I still got dark fruit. This is my reward. Blackbeard completely regarded Tesla's words as a compliment to himself. The so-called people without skin are invincible. Blackbeard probably belongs to this kind. Tesla knew that it would be useless to talk to him more, so he stopped talking, just thinking about how to fight. This island, although he is king and worshipped by everyone, once challenged, the people will not participate. Therefore, the power of the master of Tesla is only the guard regiment he cultivated, and the power on the island that can fight Blackbeard does not exist except himself. Now, the only advantage is that it is the seaside, and Tesla has unlimited possibilities on the seaside. I had to escape first. Tesla thought to himself. Advertisement. When encountering the Blackbeard pirates, there is no need to take your life here. Ha ha ha. I think your strength is not bad. How about you follow me together? We create the future together. Blackbeard issued an olive branch to Tesla. Hearing this news, Tesla was slightly surprised, but he didn't expect Blackbeard to take the initiative to recruit him. But Tesla obviously doesn't like people like Blackbeard. He still has his own arrogance in his heart. If this spreads out, it won't be laughed at. I'm sorry, I can't accept your terms. You don't deserve to be my captain. Tesla said proudly. Although he went to sea for many years, Tesla has not formed his own pirate group, because Tesla does not want to be the captain by himself. He wanted to find a character who was qualified to be followed by him, but this character has never appeared. No good. Perhaps, the previous peak of Whitebeard deserves to be followed, but Tesla feels that he is still young. The person he hopes to follow should be a high-spirited person, not an old and weak person. What did you say? Faced with his invitation, Tesla directly refused, which made Blackbeard's face look ugly. Captain, since he has no such thoughts, then there is no need to talk nonsense about employment. I will do it. Yuji Shiryu couldn't stand it anymore, and directly shot Tesla. The powerful swordsmanship suppressed Tesla at once. When Shiryu of Rain stabbed him with a sword, Tesla quickly formed a water film in front of him. However, Rain no Shiryu's sharp sword tip was covered with a layer of haki, which instantly pierced Tesla's water film. Tesla was slightly surprised, and quickly stepped back, avoiding the attack of Shiryu of Rain. Chapter 235. Whitebeard Pirates vs. Blackbeard Pirates. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. It broke my water film. Tesla looked at Shiryu of Rain with more solemn eyes. As the owner of the water film fruit, Tesla is very aware of the defensive power of his move. Don't look at it as a small thin film of water, but the attack that can withstand is more than tens of thousands of caddies. But under the swordsmanship of Shiryu of Rain, his water film turned out to be like a balloon. Ha ha ha, I have seen through the characteristics of your fruit abilities, you should just grab it with your hands. Yuji Shiryu said with a smile. When Tesla was fighting Blackbeard just now, Shiryu of Rain had been observing the characteristics of his water film. Although this kind of water film is strong defensively, as long as the force is concentrated on one point, it will form extraordinarily high pressure. This pressure coupled with armament haki, breaking the defense is not a problem at all. Really my natural enemy. Tesla couldn't help but sigh with emotion. It's too late to change my mind. Yuji Shiryu used to be the warden of Impel Down. The method was very cruel. I can't help you when I fight. Blackbeard said again at this time. I said, you are not qualified enough. Tesla said loudly, and at the same time formed a spherical water film around him, completely enveloping him. And this time, Tesla's water film is very thick, it seems to be 7 or 8 930 centimeters. No, he wants to run away. Badgerston said at the time. As soon as the voice fell, Tesla's figure suddenly rushed out and flew straight toward the sea. Advertisement. It's not that easy to escape. Shiryu of Rain quickly stabbed him. But this time, Yuji Shiryu's sword did not easily pierce the water film. Instead, Tesla instantly turned his head and raised his hand to Shiryu of Rain. Dungeon. Tesla's palm faced Shiryu of Rain, and a water film quickly formed around him, trapping Shiryu of Rain in it. Wrapped in a film of water, all of Shiryu's mobility is weakened. Damn, you release Shiryu first. Blackbeard's opponent said, and at the same time he chased Tesla. Shiryu, be careful. Badges came next to Shiryu of Rain, said to him, and then snatched it up with a punch. The heavy force hits the water film, but just like hitting cotton, the force is completely dispersed and dissolved. Idiot, this is not acceptable. Shiryu of Rain cursed inside. At this time, the other crew members rescued Shiryu of Rain, and Blackbeard also fought against Tesla at this time. Tesla was caught up by Blackbeard, but he didn't want to be in love either. After blocking Blackbeard's several attacks, he continued to run into the sea, and soon, the sea surface had covered the soles of his feet. Seeing that Tesla was about to be in the sea, Blackbeard jumped up and sent a shocking force to Tesla. The power of shattering the space burst out, and it shattered Tesla's water film at once, and this force also shook Tesla back a lot. Not good. Because of the broken water film, coupled with the large area of the body encountering seawater, Tesla suddenly lost the ability to move, and his body became weak. Advertisement. However, at the last moment, Tesla still used his whole body strength to form a water film for himself. This time the water film is very small, and it is completely attached to Tesla's body. But this protected Tesla from further exposure to seawater. At this time, Tesla's body was completely lying in the sea, and was submerged below the surface of the sea. He lost the ability to move, floating quietly in the water film. Damn it, Badgers, come here quickly. Blackbeard shouted immediately. As a person with fruit ability, Blackbeard can't touch the sea, but Badgers does not have fruit ability, so he can enter the water and has great strength. Bring him to the shore immediately. Such a good fruiting ability can't be wasted. Blackbeard said. Captain, do you mean to kill him here? Yuji Shiryu asked. Yes, such a good fruit ability must be taken ABFA. Blackbeard said. As long as the person with fruit ability is killed, the power of fruit will generally be attached to a fruit randomly. However, since it is a seizure, then naturally you need to be able to control it. After Blackbeard, let people prepare the corresponding fruit first. After all, Blackbeard is familiar with the Devil Fruit illustrated book. He can easily know which devil fruit corresponds to which fruit. However, it took a lot of time to prepare this kind of fruit. After all, this is just a small island. Tesla was also carried to the shore, and Shiryu of Rain pierced his water film at once and stabbed his body. Subsequently, Blackbeard began to inject his own dark power into the fruit, and the dark power had the effect of absorption. When the person with fruit ability is killed, the devil will escape. At this time, it will be absorbed by the dark power and attached to the fruit to form a new devil fruit. Advertisement. Okay, you can kill him. After all this, Blackbeard said lightly. Rain Shiryu raised his sword, preparing to pierce Tesla through. At this moment, a violent sound wave passed through, directly erupting in the air. A shocking force unfolded and shook Blackbeard and others back a lot. As this, Blackbeard suddenly became nervous. He was so familiar with this shocking force that it was impossible for him to do except shock fruit. Then, there is only one possibility, and that is that Whitebeard has taken the shot, and he is here. Captain, look, Badgerston called out loudly, and pointed to the sky above the sea. Blackbeard looked around and saw Whitebeard's figure standing on the volley, and behind him, the Whitebeard pirate group was slowly approaching. Whitebeard, it's Whitebeard, Blackbeard shouted with a distorted expression. Everyone, get ready for battle right away. Blackbeard shouted immediately. He understood that since Whitebeard had found him, there was no other way but to fight. Although Blackbeard didn't know why Whitebeard chased him so quickly, it was impossible to escape now. Long time no see, my son, teach. Whitebeard stood in the sky, looking at Blackbeard indifferently. HMPH, you are no longer a daddy, Whitebeard, I can kill you the first time, and I can kill you the second time. This time, I will let you die. Blackbeard shouted angrily. Teach, you are really promising, so let Lousy come to see how far you have reached, so that you can perform like this. After speaking, Whitebeard punched out, and as the space shattered, a shock force was quickly issued. Blackbeard and others immediately retreated, and the original ground there was instantly torn apart. Chapter 236. The End of the Blackbeard Pirates. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. The Whitebeard pirates drove quickly, and Marco stood at the bow and saw that Whitebeard had already taken action against Blackbeard. Quickly, Dad has done it, I'll go one step ahead. Marco said to them, and then he flew over as an undead bird. Bahas, the last hatred, this time I will return it to you. Badgers, who had just avoided Whitebeard's attack, suddenly faced Marco, who was about to attack, and he immediately made a defensive state. Humph, it's useless. Marco immediately concentrated the Phoenix's flame on his feet, and then covered Hockey. Marco rushed over at an extremely fast speed and kicked Badgers. Badgers was kicked a few meters away by this shock, and there were 2 deep marks rubbed by Badger's feet on the ground. In addition, the blue flames on both of Badger's arms continued to hurt him, making him a little bit painful. Damn it, what is this? Badges frowned. The unquenchable flame, rumored to have infinite recovery ability, can be used to attack. Shiryu of Rain was also a little surprised. The only person I have to deal with is Blackbeard. You have nothing to do with this matter. If you leave here, then we cannot pursue it. Marco said to Shiryu and others. Some people looked at the 4 ships that Whitebeard was gradually rushing over, and their hearts began to shake. Although following Blackbeard at the beginning, they were extremely excited, thinking that Blackbeard is a person who can help them achieve their dreams. But now, Blackbeard's defeat is set, and he is mortal today. In this case, there are some people who are unwilling to give Blackbeard their lives. Advertisement. After all, they don't want to die here yet. Captain, it seems we can't continue sailing together. Captain, ask for your blessings, I can only pray for you. After all, our pirate group was originally formed temporarily, and now it's time to disband. Without any support, they have to face the many main forces of the Whitebeard pirate group, under such a crisis. It is normal for the Blackbeard pirates to gradually fall apart. What? You? I'm your captain, are you going to abandon us now? Blackbeard shouted. Captain, don't be so naive, I believe if it were you, you would do it too. Yuji Shiryu said. In the final analysis, these extremely evil pirates, the reason why they followed Blackbeard, except that Blackbeard released them. They also took a fancy to Dark Fruit's potential and Blackbeard's own ambitions. But when things happened, they don't think Blackbeard has a future. Sorry. After speaking, those people are ready to disband the pirate group, and then leave here. You guys, damn guys. Blackbeard kept cursing in his heart. However, he was also very clear in his heart that everyone came together because of interest, not love. Therefore, these people abandoning him is not very sinful, but, in this way, Blackbeard has no reinforcements at all. Advertisement. If there are these powerful helpers, then even in the face of Whitebeard, they can fight desperately. Ha ha ha, Blackbeard, look at your crew. Is this your ambition? They abandoned you before the battle started. Marco suddenly smiled. At this time, Whitebeard sent a shocking force from the air, blocking Shiryu of Rain and others. Whitebeard, what are you doing? Shiryu of Rain asked immediately. Today, I am going to kill Blackbeard, but you, I don't plan to let it go easily. Whitebeard said lightly. Whitebeard knew in his heart that these people had a certain level of strength, and he wasn't sure he was unwilling to accept today's shame. So, if you let them go at this time, wouldn't it add trouble to yourself in the future? If these people are cast in Kaido or the Ants pirate group, wouldn't Whitebeard add a bit of difficulty when dealing with them in the future? Therefore, Whitebeard would naturally not do such a stupid thing, and Whitebeard would not look down on these people, let alone let them board his own boat. Although they have some strength, they are indifferent to their companions. Whitebeard does not need such a son. Damn it, Whitebeard, you still want to eradicate us. Shiryu of Rain said angrily. Don't worry, I won't kill you, as long as you don't resist, but if you resist, it doesn't matter, it will only make you suffer more. Whitebeard said indifferently. Zero seeking flowers, 0. It was said that Shiryu and others were afraid to act at will, and they began to discuss. What should I do now? Whitebeard said he won't kill us, but he won't let us leave. What will he do with us? Badgers asked. I think Whitebeard just wants to separate us, so that we can be dispersed so that he can easily deal with us, and on the contrary, if we unite, there may be a little bit of life. Advertisement. Rain Shiryu began to think in the worst direction. She felt that Whitebeard would kill them in the end, but telling them at the beginning would only arouse their resistance. Point 0. Hearing Yuji Shiryu's analysis, everyone fell silent, and their hearts began to argue about what to do. If you unite with Blackbeard, you will undoubtedly have a better chance of winning, but if you fail, you will definitely be killed. But if you don't intervene, when Blackbeard is beheaded and Whitebeard dealt with them, they would be sitting there waiting to die. However, it is also possible that Whitebeard will really let them go, but will offer some conditions. In this case, choosing the right direction is undoubtedly the most important thing, but it is a matter of life. I think we must make a correct choice, otherwise there will be no life at all. Badges said to everyone. At this time, the ships of the Whitebeard pirate group also came to the pier, and the crew rushed down. Everyone, surround them first, don't let them escape. Marco ordered them. As a result, the people of the Whitebeard pirate group surrounded Shiryu of Rain and others. Marco, why don't you do it? Joes and others came over and asked. Marco stood at the forefront and said, Daddy's goal is Blackbeard. If these people don't resist, we don't need to do anything. It turned out to be like this. It's also a relief. I thought it would be earth-shattering to start a battle with a 4 Emperor. I didn't expect it to be so simple and easy. Aragorn said suddenly. After all, they have all gone through cruel training for a period of time, and now is the time to test themselves. And. Chapter 237. Whitebeard vs Blackbeard. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Everyone was prepared to show off in this big battle, but now there is no chance at all. Although it is naturally the best to be able to survive without the sword, but there is no chance to show their skills, which undoubtedly makes them feel a little regretful. Even Mal was the same. He kept looking at Badges. Last time Badges and others attacked him. This grudge against Marco has always been remembered, so Marco really wants to have a good fight with Badges. However, if they forcefully launch a battle without resisting them, it will only make this group of people fight desperately. Therefore, in this case, Marco can only endure first, and he led the other captains to keep a close watch on Badges and others. On the other side, the battle between Whitebeard and Blackbeard has begun. By now, Blackbeard has understood the fate of 939. If he can't defeat Whitebeard, then he will have no life. Even if he begs for mercy, Whitebeard can't let himself go. Therefore, in this case, Blackbeard can be said to be broken. Teach, only you are not worthy of being my son. Whitebeard said in a deep voice, and at the same time he punched out, and a shocking force was sent out instantly. It's useless. Blackbeard stretched out his palm, facing the shocking force, a dark color radiated from his palm. This darkness was like an invisible vortex, nullifying the power of Whitebeard's shock. As this dark fruit, even the old man's attack can be resisted. Marco looked at the black in Blackbeard's palm and said. After resolving Whitebeard's attack, Blackbeard burst out laughing. Advertisement. Newgate, although I have admired you once, the products of the old age can only be eliminated. You said I don't deserve to be your son, I don't want to do nothing on your boat forever. At the end, Blackbeard was also full of resentment. Whitebeard's eyes were full of disdain, and he said angrily, Teach, ambition is not a heinous thing, but you violated my iron law and you killed your companion. In order to capture Dark Fruit, you killed the fourth Captain Sachi. Sachi's last wish is to help him get revenge. Today, it is time for me to fulfill my promise. After speaking, Whitebeard's body instantly showed a powerful force, and Conqueror's haki spread rapidly toward the surroundings like a storm. Many people around were shocked by this haki. It's so strong. Is this the strength of Whitebeard? It's amazing. Yuji Shiryu and the others couldn't help but jump with fear under this haki. Even the captains of Whitebeard couldn't bear it, and some almost fainted. But Tesla, who fell on the ground and fell into a coma before, was awakened by the shock under this haki. What's the matter? Is anyone fighting? Tesla woke up and looked at the sky. Marco quickly noticed Tesla and walked over and asked, Are you also a Blackbeard crew? Blackbeard. I am not his crew member. He wanted to recruit me just now, but I refused and was almost killed by him. Tesla replied immediately. Seeing that Tesla's tone was so disgusting, Marco judged that what he said should not be false. Then what's your name? Marco asked. My name is Tesla. I was originally the king of the island. Tesla replied. Advertisement. Wang Dao. It's similar to an offering on the island. I said just now that Blackbeard wants to recruit you, so you are also a pirate. You should not be weak. Therefore, Tesla told Marco about his fruitful ability. At this time, Joes also ran over, and after hearing what they said, Joes admired Tesla very much. Tesla, in that case, would you like to join our Whitebeard pirate group? With your strength, you can serve as a captain, and you can sail freely on the sea with your father in the future. Joes said to Tesla, trying to get Tesla into the Whitebeard pirates. After all, the task that the old man gave to Joes before, he can always remember, that is to recruit strong players. Hearing that, Tesla also hesitated slightly, although the Whitebeard pirate group was one of the 4 emperors. But Tesla did not know Whitebeard so well, so he did not readily agree. I'm sorry, I like life on this island very much, and I want to stay here. Tesla tactfully refused. Joes was slightly disappointed, such a person with strength and good personality, it was a pity that it was useless to pull him into the pirate group. It's okay, just don't want to join, and later Dad will settle the Blackbeard pirates. Marco said immediately at this time. Tesla nodded towards Marco, and he also had some good impressions of the Whitebeard pirates. After all, with the comparison of the Blackbeard pirates just now, the Whitebeard pirates is not only uncomfortable, but the attitude is also so friendly. You guys, don't you go help your captain, that Blackbeard is very good. Tesla said to Marco and them. Advertisement. Ha ha ha, there is no need at all. Dad doesn't need our help. You might as well say that Blackbeard needs help now. Marco laughed. I have heard a lot about Whitebeard, but Blackbeard has 2 fruit abilities, which should not be underestimated. Tesla's expression was very dignified. He played against Blackbeard and knew the danger of dark fruit very well. If it wasn't his water film ability, he could just restrain dark fruit, otherwise he wouldn't even be able to use his ability. And how powerful Whitebeard is, it also depends on the ability of the fruit. The whole world knows that Whitebeard has a powerful shock fruit, but dark fruit is able to restrain most of the fruit. In the face of dark fruit, those with other fruit abilities will naturally be reduced by level of 5.0. You know, even Red Hair is not Blackbeard's opponent, he was injured by Blackbeard in one of his eyes. However, Marco and others paid no attention to Tesla's concerns. Marco just smiled and said, "Next, you can watch a good show." Tesla couldn't help but look up to the sky, only to see Whitebeard continuously using the shocking force. "I said it's useless." Blackbeard stretched out his palms disdainfully, secretly surging. But then to Blackbeard's surprise, Whitebeard's shocking power was not aimed at him. Instead, it aimed at the ground around Blackbeard, and soon the ground began to shake and crack. Damn it, this trick came here. Blackbeard hurriedly avoided, the ground under his feet had begun to collapse. Chapter 238. Whitebeard vs Blackbeard 2. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. While Blackbeard was busy dodging, Whitebeard once again used the power of the shock and came directly towards him. Damn it, I can't escape. Blackbeard used the power of darkness to form a dark barrier in front of him under tension, completely dissolving the power of the shock. "Look, dark fruit is really amazing," Tesla said to Marco and them. "It's great, but the old man is not serious yet," Marco replied. The reaction was quick, Whitebeard said slightly, before falling from the sky. He was floating in the sky, far from Blackbeard. At such a distance, any attack would give Blackbeard enough time to react. When Whitebeard landed on the opposite side of Blackbeard, they were only a few meters apart. At this time, Blackbeard felt a huge pressure. "No, you can't look into his eyes." Blackbeard struggled and shook his head. As soon as he looked into Whitebeard's eyes, he felt that his heart was about to stop. "Teach, have you never regretted it?" Whitebeard asked indifferently. "Regret? This kind of thing will never happen to me," Blackbeard replied conceitedly. "If you didn't take dark fruit out of greed, and didn't kill Sachi, then you are still a member of my Whitebeard pirates. You can run rampant in this sea area under my name, but you ended up making a wrong judgment initially," Whitebeard said regretfully to Blackbeard, but Blackbeard was not to be outdone. "What kind of wrong judgment? There is never so-called right or wrong in this world. Only the winner can make the rules. You can be a big pirate, why can't I? Dark fruit can realize my dream, why don't I fight for it? Whitebeard, you still play this trick until now. What you said can only deceive your sons. Look at them. They can only be around you for the rest of their lives. It's really sad." Advertisement. Blackbeard got more and more excited, his face flushed in the end. "Teach, you still don't understand anything. Is it because I protected you too well before? You don't have a clear understanding of the dangers of New World." Faced with Whitebeard's preaching, Blackbeard became more and more impatient, and suddenly shouted. "Enough. Fight if you want. No matter how good you are, it's not easy to deal with me who has two fruit abilities." "Gum ha ha ha," Whitebeard laughed. "What are you laughing at?" Blackbeard was a little disturbed at his laughter. "Teach, do you know what your biggest flaw is?" Whitebeard asked, staring at him. "That is, you are too arrogant. You are a person who is easily overwhelmed. Now, it's time to teach you a lesson." After speaking, Whitebeard swung his big knife out. Whitebeard also knew that his shock fruit had some disadvantages against dark fruit, so he planned to use swordsmanship to deal with Blackbeard. "Daddy is going to use swordsmanship against Blackbeard, let's take a good look," Marco said to Tesla. Tesla also watched this wonderful battle intently, and felt his breathing slowed down a lot, for fear of missing something exciting. "Damn it, Whitebeard's swordsmanship has defeated Redhead and Hawkeye, how can I deal with it?" Blackbeard felt a little bit tricky, after all, he also knew how powerful Whitebeard's insight was. And in this way, it shows that Whitebeard is very cautious about his dark power. It has not been long since Blackbeard got dark fruit, and it has not been fully developed yet. Advertisement. Therefore, if you want to use secret power to deal with Whitebeard's swordsmanship, I'm afraid it will be disadvantageous. Just as Blackbeard was thinking, Whitebeard's big knife slashed like a groundbreaker. A huge and fierce sword aura slashed down and swept out with a strong storm. "What a powerful sword spirit!" Tesla suddenly exclaimed, and at the same time he couldn't open his eyes because of the wind pressure blowing in the distance. "HMPH, this is not the complete strength of the old man," Marco said triumphantly. Whitebeard's swordsmanship and shocking power are now known to almost the whole world about the power of Whitebeard, but there is still a very important point that many people don't know. Marco believes that if outsiders know that Whitebeard is defensive, then the title of Kaido may also be taken away by Whitebeard. At this time, the crew of the Blackbeard pirate group who were in the encirclement of the Whitebeard pirate group, they also paid attention to the situation of the battle. Because of the circumstances of this battle, their choice will be determined. If Whitebeard keeps pressing Blackbeard, then they really don't need to take action, just stay honestly. After that, what Whitebeard would do with them would have to be his fate. But if Blackbeard can reverse the situation and gain the upper hand, then Shiryu of Rain and others will decisively take advantage of this opportunity to conquer the Whitebeard pirates in one fell swoop. Because Shiryu of Rain and others have already observed it, he found that although the Whitebeard pirates were crowded, the real main force was only the captains of Whitebeard. Therefore, as long as these captains are resolved in a real battle, then there is a great chance of victory. At this moment, they all hope that Blackbeard's offensive against Whitebeard can be stabilized and even counterattack. Advertisement. Because they don't want to be other people's prisoners, this feeling is very bad. The huge sword aura directly cut a 930 mark on the ground, and Blackbeard directly used the shocking force when facing the powerful sword aura. The shocking force of the shattered space immediately blocked the sword energy in front of Blackbeard, but the other parts were still cut on the ground. It's dangerous, Blackbeard said with some rejoicing. In the face of this destructive force, no one is not afraid to fear. Blackbeard, regret it, even if you go to hell, you will be full of regrets. Whitebeard growled. Afterwards, Whitebeard's figure rushed directly towards Blackbeard. You are asking for your own death. I saw Blackbeard sink his hands on the ground, and a black breath instantly enveloped his palms. Then a large amount of black gas permeated, flowing and spreading like a liquid. Soon, the surrounding ground was gradually covered by this black air. Secret Point Road. Blackbeard let out a low voice, and secret power expanded to its maximum. Dark fruit has the power to absorb and swallow, and these black chi forms on the ground like quicksand. Some objects on the ground were also completely sunk in, and the ground where Whitebeard was located was also covered by this black air. I saw that the black air had already submerged to the height of Whitebeard's ankle, and was gradually rising, as if to swallow the entire Whitebeard. Chapter 239. All Blackbeard pirates join the battle. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. It's fancy. Whitebeard stopped and sank the knife to the ground, and a wave of Conqueror's Haki instantly spread out from the center. These black airs were instantly dissipated by Whitebeard's Haki, and even Blackbeard receded a bit after receiving the shock. Tesla stood in the distance, looking at it. The coercion displayed by Whitebeard seemed to be Kun facing the world, making him short of breath. Is that the One Piece? This is the first time Tesla has seen someone use Conqueror's Haki to directly respond to this fruit attack. What is this? Is this a born king? What did Whitebeard do? Badgerston was shocked and didn't understand that Whitebeard only used Haki to dissolve Blackbeard's dark power. His Conqueror's Haki is a little different. Yuji Shiryu frowned. As the Warden of Impel Down, Shiryu of Rain is also somewhat insightful. Although Conqueror's Haki is very rare, the owner is equivalent to being a king. But in New World, there are not a few people who have Conqueror's Haki, and the owner of Conqueror's Haki can indeed use this momentum to stun the enemy. As long as the strength is strong enough, even without moving your fingers, Haki can instantly defeat 100,000 enemy troops. But it was the first time that he saw that Conqueror's Haki could be used in this way to defuse the opponent's substantive attack. However, what Shiryu of Rain does not know is that this is not enough for everyone. It's just because of the card abilities that Whitebeard has obtained before, after the last battle with Marine, and occasionally tempered Marco and others. Whitebeard's Conqueror's Haki has evolved. Although it has not reached the final stage, it is no longer ordinary Conqueror's Haki. Temporarily can become the Emperor Color Haki. Advertisement. Faced with this terrifying Imperial Color Haki, Blackbeard stepped back and even began to tremble constantly. How could this happen? I am the owner of the dual fruit ability. Teach, I said, your shortcoming is that it is easy to get overwhelmed. Although the dark fruit is strong, but relying on the fruit ability is definitely not really strong. Teach, you won't understand such a powerful one, but as a punishment for killing Sachi, I will let you engrave the fear caused by such a powerful in your soul. Whitebeard's powerful words resounded in Blackbeard's ears. He was terrified of Whitebeard, but fear also gave him the power to survive. I won't fall here, I'm a person who wants to lead a new era. Blackbeard exclaimed with fear and self-comfort. Let you see my shocking power, I don't believe that my power will be worse than you. Blackbeard shouted angrily in his heart, and at the same time he punched out, and the ground under Whitebeard's feet quickly began to shatter. At the same time, a wave was formed on the sea, which gradually slapped towards the shore. It's a tsunami. Everyone, get out of the way. Marco immediately shouted. The 5-meter-high waves swept toward the shore at very fast speeds, and the Whitebeard pirates ran towards the center of the island. Under this kind of crisis, Yuji Shiryu and others also got a little freedom. Now, what should we do? Do you want to do it? As he ran, Badgers asked, everyone looking at each other, thinking about this question. I think this is an opportunity. Even if we fail, we will fight it anyway, and I think that after Blackbeard is really defeated, Whitebeard will definitely not let us go. Advertisement. After Shiryu of Rain, everyone remembered, yes, during the war at the top, although their Blackbeard pirates did not appear until the end of the war. But to say that Whitebeard was really killed, at that time, their entire Blackbeard pirate group, all of them shot. Exclamation mark quote. Blackbeard began to doubt himself. Therefore, thinking of this, everyone can't help but worry. Although Whitebeard has been resurrected, they don't think Whitebeard will ignore this matter. Shiryu was right. I can't just sit and wait for death anymore. I decided to fight with them directly. Caitlin said. I agree. I agree. Then do it. Others also decided one after another. So, while escaping from the waves, Badges and others directly attacked some weak captains of the Whitebeard pirate group. Damn, these people are decisive and unbelievable, just kill them. Yaluo said angrily when he saw his teammates injured. Damn it, attacked at this time, don't blame us for being impolite, everyone obeyed my orders. Marco immediately flew into the sky and gave out orders loudly. Ordinary crew members are leaving here, you form a larger encirclement, don't let them run away, other captains, let me play. Ordinary crew members staying here only increased the wounded. They quickly evacuated to a farther place under Marco's order, and then gradually formed an encirclement. Advertisement. At the same time, the 18 captains of the Whitebeard pirate group gathered together to face the 9 main members of the Blackbeard pirate group. Badges and Pizarro, let me deal with it. Marco said majestically, his tone full of confidence, and randomly incarnate the phoenix and attack the past. Marco, what a big tone, this time I will never let you go again. Badges said with a smile. Yes, we have no retreat, no one can stop us. Pizarro also showed endless fighting spirit. In this case, let me deal with the legendary warden. Beasta also jumped out and stabbed towards Shiryu of Rain. Yuji Shiryu immediately drew his sword to fight, knew how both are masters with swords, and the difference in strength is not very big. HMPH, funny, I heard that you have fought with Hawkeye, have you qualified to be my opponent? Shiryu of Rain said while fighting. Thank you, Beasta replied. Haha, is it me next? Joes looked around and finally selected his opponent. Come on, the extremely evil criminal on the 6th floor of the great undersea prison. I saw Joes go directly to the big wine bask, this is a drunk alcoholic, but Joes knows very well that this person's strength should not be underestimated. This person is one of the 4 pirates that Blackbeard took away from the 6th floor of the great undersea prison. He is very powerful. Jerry, no matter who it is, I will tear you to pieces. Bask said as if drunk, and waved his weapon at Joes. And then, Yaluo locked the target on Van Oka's body. Chapter 240. Siege of the Blackbeard Pirates. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. The Van Oka on the Blackbeard pirate ship is very dangerous. He has a strong sniper ability and must be restrained with speed. This is Whitebeard's analysis of the crew of the Blackbeard pirates when preparing to deal with the Blackbeard pirates. Therefore, Yaluo is very aware of the dangers of Van Oka, and his wind and wind fruits should be the best to deal with Van Oka. If there is no one to contain Van Oka, then his sniper ability may cause a lot of harm to Marco and others. HMPH, it came at me. Van Oka smiled slightly, without showing any fear. After locking the target, Eroge quickly turned into a whirlwind and rushed towards Van Oka. Just as he was about to approach, a huge body appeared in front of Eroge. Without any defense, that huge body just allowed Arogo to attack him. Brother Arrow felt as if he had hit the huge rubber and was directly bounced back. This is. Brother Yaluo looked at the huge body in front of him dumbfounded. Hey, Wolf, why are you here? Do you underestimate my ability? Van Oka said to the person who came to block the attack for himself. Captain, that's the San Juan Wolf, known as a huge battleship, very powerful. At this time, a crew member reminded Alorge. This is terrible too, Arogo suddenly exclaimed. 930 This San Juan evil wolf has a huge body like an island. With such a large body, its physical strength is also extraordinary. Just now, Arrow's attack could not break his defenses, and such a huge object stood in front of Van Oka. Advertisement. This makes Yaluo feel a bit tricky, he certainly can't solve this big guy quickly, and if he gets entangled here, then Van Oka behind him would definitely launch an attack, and Eroge thought that his situation would be bad. Other captains, hold them down for me. Eroge immediately said to the others. The remaining captain has already taken action, but the Blackbeard pirates still have Lafitte, Katrine, and Shinigami Poison Q. The strength of these 3 people is not weak, and they cooperated with the many little brothers on the boat, fighting fiercely with the remaining captain of the Whitebeard pirate group. At the same time, 3 captains from the Whitebeard pirate group came to help Arog contain the San Juan evil wolves. Don't fight with him, just contain it. Eroge reminded them, and then turned into a whirlwind and attacked Van Oka. Eat me first and attack. ABFA. Facing the attack of Eroge, Van Oka could shoot a quick shot, and it was in the middle of Eroge. Even if it was a natural fruit, he still felt pain. Damn it, is there such a fast sniper speed? Oroya had to stop the attack, feeling surprised. Moreover, Eroge moved very fast in the air. In this case, Van Oka was able to calmly and accurately hit him, showing his extraordinary sniper ability. You know how good I am. Van Oka smiled triumphantly. He had also hit Ace when he was confronted with Huo Fist Ace before. Huh, There are really what kind of captains there are, what kind of crews are there. Dad is right. You all have the problem of being overwhelmed. Facing Van Oka's triumphant look, Aragorn immediately ridiculed. However, when he said that, Eroge also began to be cautious. If he was hit by Van Oka a few more times, the battle would be over. Advertisement. In this way, the Whitebeard pirate group and the Blackbeard pirate group fought fiercely, and the island was shaking. 2. On the coast, Whitebeard and Blackbeard were also fighting. After the impact of a big wave, the coast was very smooth and flat. In addition, a pool of water was formed in the pit created by Whitebeard. Standing on a high place, Whitebeard looked at the battlefield in the distance. Seeing that the Whitebeard pirate group was not at a disadvantage, he was relieved a lot. After special training for Marco and others for a few days, Whitebeard knew deeply that the strength of these people had improved a lot. Therefore, Whitebeard still has confidence in Marco and others. At least now, Marco and others have reached the level of quasi-admiral. Teach, do you think your master can do whatever you want with 2 fruit abilities? I want to show you the real shock fruit now. Whitebeard faced Blackbeard and said very strongly. HMPH, my shaking power is exactly the same as yours, and, as I have already said, your shaking power has no chance of winning in front of my dark fruit. While answering, Blackbeard raised his palms in front of him, and the black breath suddenly filled out. A horrible breath immediately enveloped this space, making people feel an invisible cold current. Come on, let me know. Blackbeard shouted after making the layout. He has dispersed his dark power around, and if other fruit power enters at this time, it will be swallowed immediately. Being swallowed by the dark power is like being sucked into a black hole, basically it can be regarded as death. Advertisement. Facing Blackbeard's proud expression, Whitebeard also shook his head slightly to him. Teach, you are still as naive as you always have been. You have been the son of an old man for so many years, haven't you made any progress? After speaking, Whitebeard then put the big knife on the ground, and then vacated his hands, gathering a lot of shocking power. At the same time, Emperor Haki also gathered, and as Whitebeard fisted out, the space on both sides shattered like glass. The huge shock power and the magnificent imperial color Haki spread out at the same time, and the violent air current swept out from the center of Whitebeard. The water on the seashore was also gathered, and the strong vibration caused the ground to shake constantly and produced countless cracks. Blackbeard frowned, struggling to deal with Whitebeard's attack. However, his dark power was dispelled by Whitebeard's Emperor Haki in an instant, and the overbearing power did not give the dark power any chance to resist. After all, it is only the power of the dark, and if it is strong, there must be shortening. The power of the dark can have the effect of absorption, but it lacks the effect of attack. Blackbeard was also a little surprised to find that his dark power was dispelled. Oops! Blackbeard yelled and urgently used his shock power to counter Whitebeard's attack. At this moment, the force of the 2 tremors struck each other, and the huge force impact kept leaking to the surroundings. That kind of power seemed to shatter the sky, and Blackbeard confronted Whitebeard's moves with all his strength. And Whitebeard himself leapt into the air and stood there, and he began to urge the high waves on the seashore to rush over.